So we're still waiting for one member, but at 6 o'clock, I'd like to get started so that we don't go any longer than we have to. So I'll call the meeting to order of the Bristol Budget Committee on Tuesday, December 19th at 6 o'clock. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Patty, would you be kind enough to lead us?
Sure, I will. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we'll get right into new business, and that's primarily going through a bunch of departments today. I have cemeteries first on today's list, so if you could take the seat, primarily because I need you to sit in front of the microphone so that whatever you say is heard.
That's fine.
And if you could introduce yourself, we know who you are, but if you could introduce yourself so it's in the recording, so a minute taker who's doing minutes remotely knows.
Yeah, I'm Richard LaQuam. I'm actually the cemetery trustees chairperson, and that's pretty much what I've been doing now for the last 6 years.
Great. So let me actually take care of. I will make a motion to move the section 4195, which is cemeteries, in the amount of $1,200. Can I get a second? Second from Walter. So we now have a motion on the table. Is there anything you want to tell us before we potentially ask any questions?
Yeah, well, I want to save you some money.
Excellent. We liked you already, but now we really like you.
This past year, unforeseen medical issues have created a situation where we weren't able to get accomplished what we wanted to get accomplished in the cemeteries.
Okay.
So we didn't use nearly enough of that money. And so this year, instead of actually looking for the 1,200, we're actually going to knock that down to 750.
Okay. So you want
Make a
that?
motion to accept the reduction.
Okay, so Walter is making a motion to amend line 650 of section 4195 to a new amount of $750. I will second that. Does anyone have any comments or questions about that? Not hearing any comments or questions, I will call the vote. So if you're voting yes, you're voting to reduce the line to the new recommended amount from the committee chair to $750. If you vote no, you're voting to keep it at the original amount of $1,200. All in favor? Against, abstain?
I'll abstain.
Passes 6-0-1. Thank you, Richard.
That's it?
No, so is there anything else?
Well,
No, I didn't think so. So does anyone have any questions for the cemetery portion of the budget?
Is it still mostly for trying to restore gravestones?
what it's basically for is because we have the maintenance and in the cemeteries. And this past year, we actually had a workshop on the restoration of the gravestones and the proper cleaning of the gravestones. So this year, we're actually looking at a scheduled workshop that's already scheduled for May. And what we end up doing is we go out and buy the basic supplies that we need for the restoration of those stones. And this year, we actually worked in Keyser. And we worked on 2 gravestones to restore them. And when I say restore, because they were tipping, and once they start tipping, they tip so much they actually break. And because the stones, gravestones are so hard, so old, it doesn't take much for that to happen. So we actually, one of the gravestones was literally coming out of the ground, out of the base that was supposed to be holding it. So we had to restore the base and reestablish the stone in the base. And then the other stone that we worked on in the cemetery, we actually had to straighten that and rebase it. And when we rebase it, I mean we cement it back into place with specific specific material to actually get that done. And then it usually has a set for 4 weeks before it actually hardens to a stable position. And at the same time, we have to go, when we're doing that, we're actually cleaning the gravestones. And when we clean the gravestones, there's specific solution that we purchase, and it's called D2. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but it's D2, and it's a very expensive solution that we use on the gravestones. So we have to figure in that based on the number of gravestones that we actually have to clean up again. And that's usually every other year, depending on the materials. And when we do that, we have to make sure, because the stones that we have are granite, slate, and stone. And so we have to make sure that when we clean the stones, we're actually cleaning the stones properly. Otherwise, we're adding more to the despise. So, and that's one of the things. And then, of course, we buy, this year we were lucky. We actually got some of our rakes and shovels that we use in the cemeteries. We actually get them donated from Abishans and Valley Lumber over here. So it kind of works in our favor too. So that's what we also try to do. And right now, there's only 2 of the cemetery trustees. So we kind of rely on the community. And Ron, who was working part-time, was going into the cemeteries and working one day a month in the cemeteries. Of course, we have 6 cemeteries. So you can see it takes a little while. And we also have up to 300 gravestones that we take care of in those 6 cemeteries. And if you're not familiar with the cemeteries, there's Keyser, Sanborn, Sleeper 2, Keyser, Worthing, and Heath. So we have all of those. And Bart goes in with the town crew and actually helps clean up Worthing, because that's the most viewed cemetery in the town of Bristol, other than Homeland, which we have nothing to do with. So, and that's pretty much where it goes, is going for the supplies. I know this past year it cost us almost a little over $400 to get the materials for the gravestone repairs. And this year we're looking at trying to do 2 workshops. One in May, it's already scheduled. And then we're going to look to do another one in September. And we're going to put that out to the community, because the more people that we get involved, the better it will be. Because some of these gravestones are significantly heavy when you're trying to move them. And with Cheryl and I, the only 2 there, we want to get the community more involved with our cemeteries. And I say our cemeteries because they're Bristol's. And we just want to share those cemeteries with the community and make them aware that that's what we're doing in those cemeteries to make them better for the town of Bristol. Kind of like a beautification.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Christina?
I just add to for Richard, so normally the highway department will help prepare the cemeteries at the beginning of the season, and then the only one they help maintain is the primary one that you see out on Summer Street, normally. But this year, because we went to the board and we asked the board to approve the seasonal employee that was hired for the Kelly Park for 1 day a month to go in and help them this year. So that's what Richard meant by Ron Shaman. He went in 1 day a month to help them. We also encumbered money from last year's budget into this year's, and so they actually spent over almost $600 on supplies for repairing. But again, they weren't able to do all that they wanted to do this year, so.
Walter, go ahead.
The cemeteries are looking better than they have in the recent past. Is this something that might possibly hurt them? This cut in spending, is this something that might possibly hurt the cemeteries?
I don't believe so at this point, because we've already got the supplies that we need for the May work. The only thing that we'll probably look at, depending on the amount of materials that we use on our next workshop. And the 2 stones that we actually worked on this year took us almost 4 hours. to actually do those stones because of all the particular measurements and stuff that you have to use for the cement type compound that you put with the gravestone. But we're looking at it because the people that actually do the workshop and have been helping us are the graveyard of New Hampshire. So they've actually been helping us. He's the one that actually comes down and does the workshop. And he actually will, for us, we got trained this past year. So, well, this year. So when it comes to the next one, while they're helping us do a couple of the gravestones, Cheryl and I can actually work with some other people to do more gravestones. And our plan is to try to get as many gravestones back to as close to the original standing and in the cemeteries, with exceptions of some of the ones that have been down in the ground, basically laid down because they broke and fell. And because of the way they broke and the situation that they are, we can't physically pick them up and put them together to stand them up. So this year we're looking at a couple of them that we know that's in Keyser and Sleeper 2 that are actually embedded into the ground. And our plan is to pick those stones up as careful as we can, put a gravel base under them. And once we do that, we're going to take bricks and line the perimeter around the gravestone to give them the specific protections that they need, because that'll give the chance for the water to run off instead of it causing moisture and mildew on the stone. So that's one of the plans we're looking at too. And there's some that we're just gonna restructure by digging around them and reseating them and set them where they're supposed to be. And that's basically what we're working in the cemeteries right now to try to make them look better.
I'm glad there's people interested in it.
Yeah, well, we got Joan, who works in the land office. She actually lives right across from Keyser. So she told us that, and her husband now back up with her. So they're talking about helping us over in that cemetery, which is really cool. But we're gonna start putting it out so people can actually, get involved with the cemeteries, because it is the town's cemeteries.
Right. Dana, did you have a question?
I just had a quick comment. If they got in a crunch, Christina, would it be possible to maybe get 2 of the prisoners up here? And,
We tried this past year and we couldn't get the prisoners up to do even the beach.
oh, even the beach?
Right,
Oh,
so could we could try again.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna speak out of turn for the select board, but do I think the select board would also approve the continuance of our seasonal employee to help with the cemetery one day a month? I do think that the board would do that. Cause Ron he got a lot of work done for them on the day that he was able to go
Well,
there.
that position is in the Kelly Park, and we've
Right.
already handled that, and so it's currently in the budget.
We're not asking for a change in the budget, it's all paid within the same budget.
Right.
For the one day, so,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
And can I just
Did you
add-
had a comment? Yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to add too, that the cemetery trustees did a lot of work on getting a volunteer form, programs created, it's on the website. So if anybody is interested in participating, there is a form, a brochure application on there, and they would be happy to have people who would like to come help them out, so.
Yeah, because we actually set that up, what we call the historical cemetery adoption. But what it is if they want to come in and work on a specific cemetery, all they got to do is let us know. And we get the form to them that they have to sign, releasing Bristol from responsibility. And they do that, and then there's another form that they actually fill out. We've redone the bylaws. We've done several things with the cemetery that we're working on, trying to get that all set up. But right now, we're doing pretty good.
Great, thank you for all your work on that. Are there any other questions? Are we ready to move this? I think we're ready to move. So I'm going to call a vote. We're gonna vote on final approval of section 4195, which is cemeteries, in the new amended amount of $750. All in favor? It's all seven, so I don't need to call for againsts and abstentions. That's approved. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So my agenda had town clerk next and then the library, but since the library has 7 people here, I think I'm gonna do them second. Sorry, Ray, and let them leave. If you could take the seat of honor here.
Alrighty.
So same thing, we need you to talk up so that you're in the microphone and go for, so these meetings are streamed. I don't really know if anyone's actually watching, but it is a possibility. So we want to make sure that you're part of the, and we also want you on record because our note taker will take that.
Alrighty.
So let me, before you do anything else, let me make a motion to move section 4550, which is the library, in the amount of $264,838.46. Can I get a second for that?
A second.
Sue will second that. So we have a motion, and now, before we start asking questions, is there anything that you...
We'll ask questions first and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Okay, so you don't have anything that you wanted to...
I have some things, but
Okay.
I'd rather hear some questions first,
Okay, not a problem.
if that's okay.
Buzz, go ahead.
I've got a couple of questions on line items. The first is line 342, where the budget for last year was $3,000 and you spent $188 so far. You're asking for more this year,
Line 342,
342.
342.
computer support, and I see that it was 3,000 last year.
Yeah, but
Which is this year,
apparently you
yeah.
only spent 188 of that. And so why are you asking for more this year?
Is that the line we cut?
Yeah, that's what.
No, there's not.
Oh,
We haven't
okay.
touched anything.
No, last year. Was that the line that had the hotspots in it?
No, I don't believe so.
No.
I don't know.
It's not that line.
I don't know why we'd be asking for that much more. Do any of you know this?
I guess the other question is, I think your treasurer is here. Do you think that amount spent year to date is correct? Or is there, as far as you know, it is? You don't know?
That's not handled, I don't handle that.
Gotcha, okay.
Christina, can you get into general ledger?
Yeah, I just want to explain too, so their computer support is anything that they would need over and above the regular contract. So we pay the monthly support, but if they needed the IT department to come out and service a computer that wasn't included in the regular monthly billing, they would have to pay that hourly rate and travel.
And that doesn't include Nesset, right?
That is nested.
Nesset is part of what we normally have. Okay, so
And any new computers that you would be required.
So that's actually a great question. So thank you for that one. What I've experienced so far in the 2.5 months I've been there is that we've had Nesset a few times. And from what I've been told by my staff, our computers are within a couple of years old. I don't think it would be a problem to lower that budget, that particular budget line.
I can tell you last year you booked 2,900 to that line, Park Street Foundation.
I think Park Street's posted somewhere else.
And so that may have been booked to the wrong thing
Maybe
last
that's what it was. So,
year. Pharonics.
okay.
I remember
And
Park
Pharonics was supposed to be this computer support for the hotspots, which we paid for out of our,
Yeah. So, and then White Mountain IT, which was our IT provider previously, so at the beginning of the year last year, so that
Yeah.
you would have
I
paid.
think Park Street might be under collections.
Park Street should be under collections because Park Street Foundation is the state library.
So
So
yeah.
that's like our online books and Overdrive and Libby and all that. That's not computer support, I don't believe.
No, but I think collections are over, so I think maybe
Maybe that's where it, okay.
that's where it is.
Yeah, so the only thing is though, you did pay for it there 2021 also, so you might have changed that.
Oh, my books were already.
So for 2021 and 2022, you paid Park Street out of that line.
That's why, that's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering if Jenna took it out of a different line.
Mhm.
And that one's over, and this one's under.
That's probably what happened, because, I mean, keep in mind, I've only been doing this for a couple months at this library, so anything before that billed earlier in the year was not my billing.
So,
But-
so, go ahead, go
Well,
ahead.
I said, what I'm hearing is that there is expenditures in this, but that they're handled in another line item, so this would be double. We'd
Well-
be paying for something twice if we honor.
No,
Is that what I'm
no.
hearing?
No,
Can I just ask, so you're saying Park Street should be moved to this line? Okay, it's been, Park Street is booked to the wrong line, it's about $2,500. It's booked to the wrong line, we're gonna move it. So
Okay.
2,500 should have been booked to this line.
Okay, then I withdraw the question.
I believe,
Okay.
I'm sorry, you talked about attorney, but I believe maybe collections are over,
Okay, yeah,
and that would be,
that would explain it
That's
if
where-
Park
And they
Street,
are over.
if Park Street had
So I
been
think
billed to
it's-
collection
that's where the money is.
as opposed to
Right.
computer support.
Okay, I've got another one.
That's fine, no, that's okay, go ahead.
This is line 674, library programs.
Park Street is booked to the wrong.
Yes,
And this one was 1,500 last year, and you spent a little less than 500, but you're asking for an incremental five.
so I went over that one myself as well, and I don't think that needs to go up at all. I think that we could keep it at 1,500 or even maybe at 1,000, but I do more programs than the previous director. However, I also write grants for some of the programs. So it's not, my budget is not gonna go up significantly, even though the programs that I'm doing are going up significantly. So I don't think we need to increase the program budget, but I would like to leave it where it is.
So if we left it at 1,500,
That would be
that?
fine. I could definitely work with that. Also, since, I'll say a couple more things. Library new equipment, line 810. I would like to offer to keep that at 1,000 instead of going from 14 to 15.
I appreciate that, but I'm just, for our workflow, what I'd like to do.
You want the questions first?
No, what I want to do now is, do you want to make the motion?
Yes.
You don't need to. Okay, so I want Buzz to make a motion to change the line you just agreed to, which
Right.
is
I make a
programs.
motion.
We'll change that line, then we'll go to the next line we want to consider changing.
Okay.
But you can keep on going.
Yeah, I'll keep on
I
going.
appreciate
Yeah.
that. So, go ahead, Buzz.
I make the motion that we change line 674, which currently is in the amount of $2,000, to an amount of $1,500.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Buzz to modify, to amend line 674 of section 4550 to a new amount of 1,500, seconded by Charlie. Are there any questions or comments that other members of the committee would like to make? Not hearing that, and hearing the director agreeing that this is not a problem, I'll call a question. So we're gonna vote on the motion to amend. You vote yes, you're voting to reduce the programs line from the current 2,000 to a new amount of 1,500. If you vote no, you're voting to keep it at 2,000. I'll call a vote. All in favor? All 7 are yes. I don't need against or abstain, so that is passed. And now you brought up line 810 for
Yes.
new equipment.
In speaking with my staff, our computers have been recently updated within the last couple of years. Instead of taking our budget of 14 and bringing it to 15, I'd like to bring it down to 1,000. That way, if a couple of the public computers do break, I can still fix them or replace them at 1,000. But I don't think we need it to be at 15. I may regret that, but I mean, I may not, because that's $1,000.
So
instead
So
of
we're-
bringing it up, I'd
So
bring it
this,
down.
this year's budget is 1,400 and you haven't spent it all. And the
No.
proposed budget for next year is 1,500 and you're offering to have that reduced to 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to amend line 810 of section 4550, which is library new equipment, to a new amount of $1,000, seconded by Janet. Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Walter.
Is any of this gonna hurt the library?
Well, if the,
I don't
I
think
should
so.
let you answer, but if
Yeah.
the library director is offering to make these changes, I gotta believe it's not gonna hurt the library, because
Yeah.
I can't
this-
believe she would do anything to hurt the library.
No, it's an upgrade. It's upgrading public computers, which have recently been upgraded within the last couple of years, that are working fine, and we're still leaving $1,000. We only have what, 5, 6? Yeah. I think we'll be okay.
We love you.
Keep it up. You're on.
I have more. Okay.
So before you go to the next one, not hearing any more comments or questions, I'm gonna call the motion. So we're gonna vote on an amendment to line 810 of section 4550 to a new amount of $1,000. All in favor? 7, so it passes 7-0. I agree, you're on a roll. What's your next line?
Buzz, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay.
That was it.
My next line is 560.
Meetings and memberships and trainings.
Yes, so I broke it down. I looked at what was done last year, and I looked at what we need, and we need the trustee association dues in the amount of $300. We need the New Hampshire Library Association, which I can combine with the New England Library Association for the bargain price of $95, and our ALA membership for $183. So that would bring it down from $820 to $578. So that saves $242 out of that line.
I'll make a motion to amend line 560 from an amount of $820 to an amount of $578. Is that correct? 578?
Yeah. I will second that. Any questions, comments? So I will call the vote on an amendment. We're amending line 560 to a new amount of $578. All in favor? 7 passes again, 7-0-0.
Ready?
Yeah, you got another one?
Yeah, oh, I've got two.
Oh,
I have two more.
I'm gonna, yeah, Janet's right, we love you.
I have two more. Oh, I might have more.
Rayma, you're gonna have to do
Maybe very much.
And I actually. Sorry, Rayma.
We'll speak later about it.
Please still reach the kids tomorrow. And I did run this all by the trustees last week. I sent them this, so it's not like I'm up here
You're not
just
surprised.
going crazy.
Good. So what's your next one?
My next one is library professional development.
240.
Yes, line 240. Now the professional development, a lot of that we can get for free. It's all free through the state library trainings.
Okay.
The things that we like to go out to professional development are the New Hampshire Library Association workshops and trainings. And with our New Hampshire Library Association bargain membership, we get like 50% off of those that we go to. So because of that, I think we could bring that down from 1,000 to 500.
I'll make a motion to amend line 240, library professional development, from an amount of $1,000 to an amount of $500.
Second.
Seconded by Buzz. Okay, so we have an amendment to amend line 240 to a new amount of $500. I don't think there are any questions or comments, so we will go ahead and vote. All in favor? 7 passes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a small one next.
Okay.
Line 673. The library passes. Our wonderful Friends of the Library group, who I spoke with the president today, has agreed to pick up all of our library passes this year. They've worked really, really hard for us. They had a huge cookie sale income, and they're picking up all of our passes for the year, every single library pass. So we need that to go to 0.
Excellent.
That's to, what is that exactly for? Are we talking about library cards? Or is
No,
that something-
our passes, so when you go to the library and you have a library card, you can request passes to different museums, state
Oh, like
parks.
Squam Lake Science Center, stuff like that.
All of that.
Or Shepherd,
Crystal McCall, yeah.
or Wellington State Park.
Got it. Okay.
So they've picked up this year additionally, the ones, they already did quite a few, but this year they additionally are picking up our state park pass. They're picking up the museum, Courier Museum, Art Museum in Manchester, and a museum in Vermont that we,
The Mount Shire.
yes, they're paying for all of those for us this year, our friends of the library. Yay, friends of the
But
library.
to clarify, I think what Charlie was asking is that the offerings of the library
Will
aren't
not
gonna
be
change.
changed.
They're not gonna be
They're not
affected by
gonna be-
this.
nope.
You're just gonna fund it with non-town revenues.
Yes.
Okay? I'll make a motion to amend line 673 of section 4550, which is library passes, to a new amount of $0.
Second?
Seconded by Les. Not seeing any questions or comments, we will vote. All in favor? 7. Okay, passes 7-0.
Paul,
Yes.
can I make a motion to make that $1 just in case?
You can make them.
You can, so let me ask,
I'd like to
Christina,
make a
if
motion to,
at a later date, you or the library trustees wanted to move money around, is the fact that that's 0 gonna cause any problem?
I don't foresee any problems with that, no. Or we could move money, we could cover it. We've had to do that in the past, so you're fine.
We can get real
So we can do that,
creative. We
Walter,
can
but
take it from
Christina's
somewhere
saying
else.
that it's not needed, that it's not gonna prevent, if something unexpected happens, it won't prevent our administration and people from taking care of it. Do you still wanna make the motion? I'm suggesting it's not needed, but you still have the right to make the
I
motion if
make
you
a
want to.
motion, $1 isn't that much.
Okay.
It's a lot of protection.
Okay, second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion from Walter, seconded by Janet, to actually now amend again line 673 of section 4550, library passes to a new amount of $1.
No, that wasn't a question.
No, okay, no questions, all in favor? Okay. Anything else?
I think I have only one more.
Oh, that's great.
Line 410, which is electricity.
Yeah.
We have our solar panels, which
Yes.
has greatly reduced our electric bill. And even though I have to reset them every month with the help of Bill Dowie, every single month they go offline and he comes and helps me and we go through the rigmarole and we reset them and we get our nice low electric bill. So even with the price of electricity going up, we're not spending our budget and we don't need to increase or keep it. So I wouldn't mind bringing it from 2,520 down to 2,000 because we only used 1,310, and that was, I looked for the mistake in that because I felt like it might have been lower, but I couldn't find the mistake in that. Just judging by the electric bills that I've been submitting for payment the last 3, I'm like, how could we have spent 13? It's under 100 usually every month, but somewhere there was a month or 2 that was high, so I guess. So but I think at 13 we don't need 25. I think we could make do with 2,000.
Okay, so we can't discuss until we have a motion, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to amend line 410 of section 4550, which is library electricity, to a new amount of $2,000.
Second?
Seconded by Sue. Thank you. I would actually comment that, so
We've
Do you-
saved 1% of our
Are
budget.
is your electricity part of the town, Christine, is the library electricity part of your town constellation, or are they paying Eversource rates?
I believe they're paying Eversource rates. I don't think you're Constellation because you have the solar panels.
I get an Eversource bill every month.
So you
that-
are paying Eversource?
Yes.
So you would still get an Eversource bill, but I don't think you're included in so the supply and demand are done differently, and I don't think you're included in that. I think you just pay Eversource rate.
Okay. Although I just saw in the paper to let you know that because the price of natural gas is dropping, it's anticipated that the price, Eversource's price of electricity will be dropping at the next reset, which is February 1st.
Okay,
So
even
I'm
better.
not gonna push you, right, but I think you're right. I think 2,000 is plenty of money. You're probably
Plenty.
gonna even say less, so.
Yeah,
They only have one more month to bill and they're at 1,300 and their bills haven't gone over 175, I think was the highest I've seen. We're just looking back.
Yep.
I'm gonna come live at the library.
I know, right? It's lower than my house.
Hope it works out, we need her in more departments.
So on this motion to amend the electricity line, are there any questions or comments from any other committee members? Not hearing any, I will call a vote. So we're gonna vote on the amendment to line 410 of section 4550 to a new amount of $2,000. So if you're voting yes, you're voting to reduce the line to 2,000. You're voting no, you're voting to keep it at 2520. All in favor? 6-7, excellent, okay. Anything else?
No, I did the math, and 1% of our budget is $2,648, and we just subtracted $2,641
I haven't had
because of the dollar. Yeah, so we're pretty close to.
Can I ask about line 191?
Yes.
Which is PT assistance substitutes. In your comment, and thank you for whoever wrote these comments, they did it. Thank you. It says to bring them up to a more competitive rate. Can you give me a ballpark number about what that actually means?
A more competitive rate. That was the approved raise my first week here. So that was the trustees' hard work and the previous directors. They make now close to, if not equal to all of the libraries that are about the same size town, about the same size staff, but they make close to, if not the same as, those library part-timers now.
Cool. So
They
the
make a little
trustees
less
have
still.
done some comparison work to other libraries.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That's why I wanted
Yeah,
to ask.
for
Thank you.
sure.
Is this, Christina, for raises in 2024, is that because library is kind of separate, is that in here, or is that in
It is in here.
personnel?
It's in here, so we've added it in under COLA step, COLA slash step, it's 192.
Okay,
Those are, if everything goes through as proposed, the library trustees have voted to support the wage scale, and that would be the adjustments for the librarian and.
okay.
Oh, so they utilize the same wage scale
They've
as the
voted,
town?
they have voted to do that, yes.
Oh, so that'd be a new practice.
Yes.
You're saying.
So I just want to be clear, 191 is basically covering the
Current staff and the increases given this year.
increases given this year, and then 192 is the increases given in the
Which would be
future,
given-
in next year.
Like all the other employees, yeah.
Has the select board offered an opinion about what they feel about the library using the town wage scale? Do they think that's a good idea? Ambivalent?
I think it makes sense.
Makes sense.
We've kind of been following it
Yeah.
unofficially for a while.
Yeah, they were, to be honest, they really weren't even on the wage scale in the right
Kind of
spot.
like yesterday.
So, but I think that they voted to move forward with the same grade and steps that we are doing going forward.
That's a good idea.
I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
Last year, was it last year or the year before that, we talked to whoever the director was then,
Yeah.
and they had little machines that they could lend out to
The hot
tourists. What
Yes,
is it? I didn't know.
yes.
Do we still do that?
Yes.
Do we charge?
So they're free.
They're free.
They're free to the patrons. They're not free to us, but we got a grant that is gonna expire in March.
Yeah.
We've cut the hotspots from 10 down to 5.
Okay.
So we did a study right after I got there to see how many were actually being used, because we pay $10 a month? $40 a month. We were paying $40 a month to have them active Wi-Fi each. So we did a study to see how many were actually being checked out on a regular basis, and really it was just 5. So we took 5 of them offline, so we're not paying those anymore. So that'll make our grant money last a little longer. We'll see what happens after March. The grant that we got that from, I think, has reached the end of their money for the Text to Go program. So I'm gonna have to find the money from somewhere else to keep it going. I'll figure it out by March, though.
And I want to thank you. Your due diligence beyond.
Thank you.
For someone who's been in a short time, you've definitely delved into.
Thank you.
And I-
Years of
I thank
practice
you,
with
and I know
home
everyone
ownership.
thanks you.
Thanks.
So I'm just trying to do some quick math so that I can get a new bottom line. Do you already have it, the new
Yeah,
bottom line?
I
number? What do
double
you-
checked my numbers
Go
too.
ahead,
to
what's
make
your,
sure.
what's your new bottom line?
262,197.46.
Okay, so so we're still doing questions. I guess the comment I just would like to make is we started off with Buzz's question about computer support. And I think what we said was there's a question about are things booked correctly or not, and we didn't make any motions to amend. But I would ask,
And the decision was that it's incorrectly.
I'm moving.
I just want to make sure that it's in the record,
Yeah.
that we would like to see when that's corrected and get this, because if we had made a cut, what I was going to say to you is if we're not sure, I would choose, I'm only one of 7, to make the cut now, with the understanding you can always come back later and give us more information and re-justify. At this point, I'm okay with not making a change, but it's something that I still would like to see the detail to make sure that we're comfortable with that. And I don't know if that's you or Christina or an accountant working for or somebody, but we would like at some point to see that corrected and updated.
I'm just gonna
Yes.
work with Patty to make sure, because then I have 2 different numbers that look like they were booked, but one's been adjusted, so I just wanna make sure that which number is correct before we fix it. So
Okay.
I'll work with Patty to get it done.
Thank you.
We'll get it
But I
done.
can tell you, it's at least, if it's at minimum 26, it could be 3,600. There are 2 different numbers in here, but we'll confirm which one's right.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have a question or comment on the library section of the budget? Not hearing any, we'll go ahead and we'll vote on the bottom line. So, we're gonna call a vote on approving the bottom line of section 4550, which is the library, in the new amended amount of $262,197.46. Trusting you, Christine, I didn't do the math myself.
I double checked to make sure everything was in there.
All in favor? We got 7, so there's no opposed or abstentions. It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and
Well done.
That was fun.
that is something we don't normally hear.
I don't think we should have had any of it, just to say that was fun. Thank you. So Paul, I'm entering them into the budget software app, and then I went back to double check, and
And you got the same number?
because before I'm writing it and then going to change it, I'm doing
Merry
it
Christmas to you.
live.
Nice seeing you.
I like that. It wasn't just no, it wasn't just no, it was hell no.
I don't see,
You don't see what?
the next one in my.
It's a
So it's got a different name, it's bizarre.
It's 4140,
Election registration and vitals.
Oh,
I don't know why the new system calls it that, but it
well,
does.
that started before the new system.
Okay, whatever. Raymond,
but, and this takes into account elections too?
Yes.
Oh, and it used to be 2 budgets and now it's 1? We do, always used to be 1.
So some of the tax financial used to be in finance, but that was changed a year or 2 ago.
Okay.
And it was all put in. I know, I'm like, it was changed before this budget. It was,
Okay.
all of the stuff, normally she had to split out tax collector and
Right.
town clerk separately.
Used to be
Now,
two
it's
budgets,
all
one for
in
town clerk,
one
one for
budget.
tax collector.
so yes, it used to be.
Now
two.
it's
Oh, town clerk, tax collector.
Now it's
Yeah.
just one,
Tax used to
one
be-
budget.
And you're probably the only person who knows the difference between those 2 things.
And tax.
I think I was gonna say
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into a discussion, let me make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4140, which is town clerk, town tax collector, or election registration and vital statistics, depending upon which name you like better, in the amount of $208,599.57. Can I get a second, please? Buzz. Buzz was the first one to put his hand up. So,
So Patty did all the cuts,
yep,
so I don't need to do any.
so do you have anything you want to say or share with us before we start asking questions?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think it's best just to ask some questions and we
Alright.
go from there.
Sounds good. Does anyone have any questions? I think they're gonna look at the budget and see what they wanna say, so I'll give you a few minutes to do that and look at that. I have a question. And I wanna be careful, cause if you answer in a way, you might need more money, so I don't lead you down that path. But again, so I like to read the newspaper, so I was reading the newspaper, and it was commenting on the fact that with all of the rigmarole going around with the National Democratic Party, that with the effort to get Biden to win the election on write-in, that there's now gonna be a ton more write-ins than we normally have, and that's gonna cause a lot more work for our election people.
Sure.
Is that a big problem, or do you need another counter or something, or do you think things are under control?
I think we'll be all right. I think we will have the write-ins. I think with the machine, hopefully it keeps working, that it'll be all right. I think we will have some write-ins. I think the number of people that I have on for ballot clerks, and most of them can stay, and the selectmen stay, and so I think we'd be fine with counters.
Okay, thank you. That was the answer I wanted, but I wanted to be sure because they were maybe it's a bigger deal in a more
I think
big
it's-
city
yeah. I
with a
think
lot
in the
more
cities-
Democrats.
And I expect a lot of independents are gonna vote Republican anyways.
I know
You're not
myself.
gonna
I
have
know
independents that are gonna probably choose
I'm an
to-
independent.
Thank you.
It's just,
So,
I think, why would you?
So, Charlie, I hear what you're saying. As an independent, I tend to vote in the primary that doesn't include the incumbent, because the
Yeah,
one with the
like
incumbent
why?
isn't all that interesting.
Yeah, it's wasting your vote, yeah.
So
Now,
I
can you promise he's gonna be alive?
cannot promise anything. Okay, so, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I saw in the Bristol Buzz that you put a note in there saying, the election's coming on the 23rd and it'll be at the old historic town hall. I know there was this isn't really a budget question, but I'm gonna ask anyway. I know there was some question about where's the best place to have an election. Are you involved in that?
Yes.
conversation, and
Yes.
is that still being talked about for the other elections
Well,
coming
it's-
later in the year?
Yes, and it's too late for this election.
Gotcha.
I hope to go to the school and talk to them. I had talked to them in years past for quite a few times, and it wasn't something they were interested in doing. But there is an interim
A new
superintendent
superintendent,
right now, so I don't know how he feels about it. But I knew this one for January was too soon, and March maybe. It may be we talk about it for next year. I think this year, the school already has everything, all their schedules done and all of that. So I think we just need to wait until probably next year and see if they can fit us in somehow.
Okay. So you continue to work with Ned and the select board and see what can be
Yes,
done?
yeah.
Thank you.
So are you, at one point,
It's out of our hands.
Are
We
you
just
now,
have to show up.
do you now have you and one other full-time employee in the office?
I'm sorry?
You and one other full-time employee?
Yes.
Because at one point we were more than that, right?
Well,
Doing an
for-
interim
for
amount of
about
time?
2 months, I had a part-timer,
Okay.
and I haven't had her for
Oh, did she go
close
away?
to a month now. I'm sorry.
I said, oh, did she go away?
It
We
didn't.
can't
It didn't.
really.
Yeah.
What I can
It
do
didn't
is-
I'm not asking for details, I'm just,
Yeah,
I
it didn't
can-
work really for my office, so right now she's part-time with Christina. So
So
she can
when-
talk more about it.
When she was hired as a shared position, for the office to do minutes. What I can legally say to you right now is just due to our legal obligations under the laws that govern individuals who have disabilities, we've had to provide an accommodation that required a split of the job. So we moved this individual into the executive office, and when we hit that budget, we'll show you that in the budget. And then, so Rima still has an open position, part-time position, for the same amount of hours that she previously advertised, the 20 hours, but it is an open position for next year.
so just to clarify, line 120, you're asking for the money because you're hoping to hire someone, but currently the position is not filled and you don't have anyone doing
Right.
that
It's
work.
just you and your deputy currently.
Yep,
Okay.
I thought last year when you mentioned the third person, that she was only to be Mondays and Fridays and not go to meetings and stuff like that.
it was
I
gonna be
surprised to see
Monday,
that.
Wednesday, and Friday. It was gonna
When I
be
heard
those 3
Monday
days.
and Friday.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that's what I hired her for, but it didn't work, and so it's just Cheryl and myself now.
As curious as I am, I want to just remind people that it sounds like there's some personnel things going here. Let's not get into a discussion about the person or what they did or how they did it or anything like that. I think we just want to focus
Well,
on the
no, it's
budget
important
issues here.
to know if she's going to have to go to these classes and, because that was not the original conversation we had.
Well, the only thing I want to say about that is you can't work in my office without going to school.
Right.
You have to go to classes with the state.
So
So
I
that
don't
was,
think that was
that
explained
was
last year.
always in there because you can't, and there's not a cost for her to go to the school in Concord anyway. They go for a week
Hours.
to become a municipal agent. You can't work on any vehicles or any of that without taking classes for municipal agent, for vital records. Taxes, we teach them, but for the state things, it has to, and they have to go right to know, and so there's certain classes they have to go to.
I understand.
Those
that.
classes are not, we don't have to fund them.
Okay, I was going to ask, but I'm going to defer to Les. Go ahead, Les.
So, I don't think it's under the peer review of this committee to question how she uses her part-time
Correct.
employees 20 hours a week.
Correct.
So if she didn't include everything that you were gonna have her do, that really doesn't matter, it's 20 hours.
We're not involved in creating or approving job descriptions or job tasks or evaluation forms. We're talking about the budget. Where I was gonna go was just to talk about, at this point, do you have any expectations on when the position is gonna be filled? If the position is gonna be filled for a bunch of months, I'm gonna say, well, if they're not gonna work starting in January, we have an opportunity to take a little money out of the budget.
And that, you know, and I don't know how this affects Christina, but, I mean, I could drop that, because that is one place I could drop, because I would like to see if I couldn't get somebody at least for the summer. That's when we are the absolute busiest, and now there's been changes in beach stickers, so it's gonna be even
I did
busier.
see that in the buzz, yeah, okay.
And so, could I drop that some? Yes, I could drop it some. How much? I don't know. I'd like to say wipe it out, but I really don't wanna do that, because
I would
I would love to get a
suggest,
person for the
I'm
summer.
talking, I call it thinking out loud, so if I'm saying something that doesn't make sense, please correct me. My first thought is to say, if you really need them for the summer, you probably need to hire them in May to train them up so that they're ready to do work by June. So we really need them for 2/3 of the year, we take a third out of it.
You'd have to start hiring March or April in order for them to be able to work on the loan.
Well, for them to start working is what I meant to say.
Because what happens with my office is you have to work in my office for a month before you can even attend any classes in Concord.
Okay.
So it's not like you can just
You
come
can't
in.
hire them and then send them to training.
Right,
Yeah.
they have to work with me for a month,
Okay.
and then they can go to training. So,
So that was probably a bit aggressive, so instead of taking a third out, maybe we could take a quarter out.
yeah, because I mean, I would like to hire somebody,
But you're not
And
trying
then,
to
you know,
hire them
nobody
now
likes
so
the
they can
hours.
start January 1st. You're
Right.
saying what you really do is need to hire them so that they can come in and
let's
get
say
the
March,
experience and the
yes.
training so that they can help you when you really need
Yes,
them in the
because
summer.
May it starts to get busy, so if I hire them in March, then,
So so it's roughly 17. So a quarter of that is 4, maybe a little more. So if we take $4,000 out of that, you think you would live with that instead of 17,586.40? We'll make it 13,586.40. Actually, I shouldn't have a discussion until I make a motion. So why don't I make a motion and then we can always change the number if we decide we want something different. I'll make a motion to amend line 120 of section 4140, which is the town clerk shared assistant, to a new amount of $13,586.40.
Second.
Seconded by Les.
You said 586?
I mean, I didn't want to do any.
Oh, you just took 4,000.
I just took 4,000 off. I didn't want to do any tough math.
Okay, got it. I got
Off
it.
the top of my
Yeah,
head.
no, that is. Roughly speaking, yeah, you moved the decimal
So
point.
it's not quite
It's not even quite a quarter.
It's not quite a quarter, but I appreciate, I don't want to try to shave it down to the absolute last penny we can get, because I don't want to make your life that difficult if you don't spend it.
right.
It's good, we need to make sure you have what you need in there, I think. Les,
I
please
just
go
have
ahead.
a question. So say you hire somebody in March, is your intent to keep them through December, if possible?
If possible.
And then they would be in the budget for those 20 hours for the whole year next year?
Mhm.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. So it's okay to cut this now, it's just
Right.
next year
Right.
we can anticipate it coming back?
No, and I, to be honest with you, I thought about the fact, you know, if you need someone for the summer, do you hire them in the spring and train them up and work them over the summer, and then things get quiet in the fall and you let them go? And I'm like, gee, if I were the boss, that sounds like a horrible idea. Why would I want to then have next year to hire someone else and train them up again? Once I found someone and hired them and trained them up, I think you're going to keep them. So I didn't suggest that we would cut them in the fall when things get less busy.
No,
So
that makes sense.
I'm on the same page as you there. Any other comments?
What do you want, Raymond?
I think that'll be fine, Walter,
Okay.
because I really would like to see somebody, if we can, get on board in the spring and then work.
Were you just trying to do better than the library did tonight? You win, but I can't do something.
All right. Not hearing any other comments or questions, I will go ahead and call the vote on the amendment to line 120 of section 4140 to a new amount of $13,586.40. So if you're voting yes, you're voting to reduce that line by $4,000. If you're voting no, you're voting to keep it at the original number. All in favor? 7, so no opposed and no abstention. That passes. Thank you, Raymond.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
And while you're here, for the new voting machine, is the idea that if it becomes available and the state says, go ahead, we're gonna purchase it right away?
Yes, because we really need that, the voting machine.
We're not gonna wait till ours to die, that's disaster, right?
Yeah,
We
that's
just buy the new one and
disaster.
start using it, okay?
Then I'll be asking everybody here to help come
Yeah, yeah.
count.
yeah.
We'll be there till 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right.
I guess that's my question.
Go ahead with your question.
So if you had the machine, no matter when it would happen, if it failed, even a new machine can fail, if it's a faulty machine or whatever, like that, you would be able to hand count. The amount of votes that we get in this town are very minimal compared to other places. I mean, I thought,
Well,
when I
compared to
asked last,
cities, but
right, but I thought when I asked last year, I think we said mostly about 750 people is all votes in this town.
It swings wildly. I mean, you could
Right.
get 350 people for a municipal election.
Well, that's what I mean, so 750 was the most, is what
But-
I'd asked
but-
last year.
Well, no,
But
but
you
in
did-
presidential,
Well, we've had
November
That's what it was.
we've had it close to 1,000 sometimes
Oh, more than that, because you get 2 ballots,
when
one
you,
for school, one for
yeah, for,
town.
that's for town,
But I
but,
remember the 16 primary was
yeah,
crazy.
right.
Even with the machine, we're still there late, because you have to count every write-in, you have to do all of that.
You have to count everything, not just the write-ins.
Small-
When it's
small
like that,
towns
you have
like
to count
Alexandria and
everything.
Hebron are there until midnight or later.
And we, in the
And then-
past, before the machine, we were there until lots of times till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we, I say we, because at that time Patty Bolsey was the town clerk and I helped her. And then we'd come back and we'd be in the office for another hour or so.
So when you have these people that you're asking to, or the clerks, I should say, there are 6 ballot clerks or 10 ballot clerks for the primary or for the major election
10 for the
and the
major, yeah.
primary,
Mhm.
or just the major election?
The
Just
major elections are gonna be probably 10.
10.
And the, the primary, I think we're gonna try to do 6
Okay.
for that one.
Okay.
But for, the, presidential election, we'll have 10 for that. I had thought we might have 10 for the primary, cause I think it's gonna be pretty busy. I've been talking to Ned about it, and he kind of feels the way I do, but with not having, just having Biden go in as a write-in, we're gonna get more write-ins. So I don't know if we're going to go, I'll have 6 anyway that day. I'll have 6 ballot clerks for that day.
So they would automatically, if something were to happen, let's say to a machine, they would be the ones, you would have volunteers, but they're the ones who actually count everything.
Then, yeah,
Help
they
you
get
fill
paid,
out that they-
but yeah,
they
they
do
get, they count, but if we needed that, I would seriously be asking people that work,
Right.
volunteer for the town to come and help count, and that's what, in the past, I've had like 12 or 14 counting teams.
Yeah.
And then we have to have the papers for that, and
Yep.
it's,
And what are the other 2 elections that we're having, that you have?
we're having 4 this year.
Right, what are the other 2, besides the primary presidential
town
election?
election.
Municipal March. Municipal election in March,
Oh, our election.
state primary in September,
Okay,
and then national and state election in November.
right, which is our federal, yeah.
And in some years it's 2 or 3, right? 2's the minimum.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
1 a year.
Yeah.
On an off year, it's just a town. But this year with 4 of them, that's why these are so high.
All right, I have to ask another hard question. I don't know how to phrase it right, because I guess that's what the apprehension is for when you mention a new machine, because of all the stuff that happened during the 2020 election. And the types of machines that were questioned were whether or not they would be safe machines, plugged into the internet. Could they be naturally hacked? Are they much different than what the machines are that you have now? What is the
The new
difference,
machines,
other than new parts?
the new machines, they all get, there's a ballot commission
Mhm.
that goes through all the machines.
Right.
There's probably, they start out with a dozen, and New Hampshire, this ballot commission, and I don't know how many people are on it, that they go through each machine and check everything that is what the state requires. And they finally got it down to 2 machines that will work in the state of New Hampshire without problems. Some of us are going to LHS, like we've used forever. There's some that are going to another company that's brand new. I'm not comfortable with that one. I've talked to all of them at my conferences. I've seen demonstrations. LHS has been really good in the past as far as if we had a problem with a machine, you call them up and they come up and fix it right then.
That's who this new machine would be under, the same
And then, yes, exact same thing.
LHS?
Mhm.
Okay.
But is it connected to a network that can be hacked?
No.
So I just want to point out, I know we're interested, and I'm interested in this also, so I haven't, but our job is not to manage elections. I mean, we can have whatever opinion we want. We can't make any decisions or force anything to happen. What we need to focus on is the budget. So if you are concerned that you want to, not buy a machine and you want to make a motion to take that out, you can do that. And we can still ask kind of general questions, but I don't want to get into the situation where we're starting to micromanage how Raymond does her job. That's not our charge for the budget committee.
No, I don't think it's re-questioning. You've done this before. I don't think it's this questioning of how Rima does her job. That's not what the question's about. The question's about for the public, why I bring that, something like that, so they understand what the difference is. Because there's going to be huge questions about whether this election is safe or not safe. You put a new machine in there, and I just want those types of questions brought to the attention. It's got nothing to do with her job, and nothing to do with that. So you've done that before, Paul. I find that that's not what the intent is. The intent is to know, so the public knows as well, that this is a new machine, it's a safe machine, and you're recommending it, and it's not going to be anything that's going to be harmful in any way to the whatever, and it's not going to cause us issues down the road like previous years.
I will tell you that most of 70% of the New Hampshire towns and cities that have voting machines use LHS.
Yeah.
There are a couple that are trying the new one, but
And they're not voting machines, they're vote counting machines.
yes, they're vote counting. They're really, they're not voting.
Well,
They're-
and people understand that, but vote counting machines can be manipulated. The saying is, it's not who votes, it's who counts the votes. That's the whole thing. So when you go to something like that, is it safe? Can it be manipulated? When he said about going to the internet, can it be manipulated in any way? Where the questions were like in 2012.
I do not believe from everything I've seen and heard it can be. It's, every time we have a count, it's 99.999 accurate, so.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I'm asking, this is for the public, because there's going to be questions about that down the road. I mean, people do wonder, how safe is the machines that we're using?
Oh, because you probably had to do recounts. You probably had to have
That's right.
hand check, and at that point, you can
That's
really get a good understanding of how good
Yeah.
the machine is
Right.
Yeah.
on those hand count years.
In my recount years ago, it changed by 2 votes.
And likely-
some of that was
It could be the human that's the error, not the
human
Exactly.
conjecture.
Yeah.
Well, I want to apologize if offended in any way. Maybe part of the problem for me is that I thought in a previous meeting I had asked, and the answer I remember is that our counting machine is not connected to the internet. So there's no way to hack into it. It's a standalone machine with like optical and electronics in it, and it reads the marks on the paper and keeps tabs. But it doesn't electronically transmit that data to the state.
Right.
Rayma has to go in and get the numbers out of that and make out a form and send it to the state. So that's why.
That's the one we have now.
That's
that's
the
the
new
same
one.
And the same one, same one.
I'm sorry, I'm pretty.
It's the same type of machine, it's just newer, works a little faster, counts.
Yeah.
But it's the same, it's not connected to the internet or anything like that.
Right, okay.
Okay, anything else? Buzz, go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions. On line 625, postage, it looks like you've only spent about half of what was authorized, but we're being asked to authorize the same amount. Is that?
Well, that's
Yep.
because the bill hasn't, they haven't got, I just gave them the bill today for the
Oh, okay.
for the tax
Okay.
bills that just went out, so.
No, the new ones that we gave out, and,
2574.35.
right.
Okay. And the new equipment, 2 lines farther down,
Mm-hmm,
$500 and only $42 spent.
yep.
What's that about?
Well, it's up to $76,
So,
76, 79 I've spent.
yes.
That was probably on, and I didn't, but it
I
was,
can tell you what you spent, sorry.
I think it was up.
Buzz, that's the line for the new counting machine that they're asking, that's why it goes up big. this
Yeah,
year,
that's why
because they're
that
asking to buy a
6,500
new big
is in
piece of
here.
equipment.
No, I'm looking at line 810.
Right,
It's new
that's new
equipment.
equipment.
Okay.
And I put it up to 6,500 because I have the voting machine.
The counting.
But I
machine.
did only spend 76, 79, which could be a,
It was
Not a
something for
printer.
you.
I know the new equipment. Oh, okay, all right. No, it's my fault. I'm on the wrong page.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We'll ask that question to Christina. I was reading under executive. It's my-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, so we'll go ahead and vote. So we're gonna vote on the bottom line of section 4140, which is town clerk, tax collector, or election registration and vital statistics, in the new amended amount of $204,599.57. All in favor? 7. So 7 in favor, so there's no against and no abstentions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I hope you all have a nice Christmas.
Thank you.
You too.
I'm just gonna go down the list, so executive would be next. If you want something different, Christina, speak up. But I'm gonna, okay?
I think I'm good with that. If you're okay, can I stay here because I can plug in numbers as we go?
Yeah.
Move that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because now we need to.
sorry.
It's got enough lines. So I'm gonna make an motion to move the section 4130, which is the executive section of the budget, in the amount of $190,556.03.
Second.
Seconded by Les. So we have a motion on the table, and now we can discuss. Did you have anything you wanted to bring up, Christina, before we started asking questions?
It might be easier to just ask questions, but I can point out one of the I can point out one change that will show your executive assistant and your finance executive assistant and your minute taker lines.
Yeah,
So previously the executive assistant in here was finance and HR. That has been moved to the finance budget.
right, that's line 115.
Yes.
That's now in finance administration.
Correct. And then the 114 is my part-time administrative assistant for the town for me as well as the select board.
Right.
And then the minute takers are the budget committee minute taker and are the minute taker that just switched out of the town clerk tax collector's office.
So the person who switched out of the town
Is now in line 120
is now in line 120.
along with the budget committee minute taker.
Okay.
Just to clarify those changes in the lines, so.
So our minute taker is the one that's 10 hours a week for 28 weeks,
Yeah,
because we don't meet all the year.
yes, so there's one that's budgeted for 10 hours a week at 52 weeks, and then there's one that's budgeted for 10 hours a week for 28 weeks. And yes, that would be the budget committee minute taker.
Yeah.
And any other person that takes minutes is just somewhere else in the budget, because I know there's a separate person,
in
a different person who takes minutes for the CIP committee.
Those are land use.
That's a
So,
land
yeah.
use person.
So land use, but they budget that all under land use associate, so she covers 5 boards
Yeah.
under that budget. And then between these two minute takers, they would cover the select board, the budget committee, and then if any of the other smaller committees needed someone to do their minutes, then they would take that on as well, so.
Okay. So, okay, go ahead.
Christina, line 690.
Yep.
That's just your line to.
Whoops, sorry, let me get.
Is that spent from the select board and the town administrator?
Yes, so that would cover any of the select board or town administrator expenses, for instance, that covered any of the employee recognition events that we would do. The holiday party
Got it.
was also covered in there.
I just forgot what that line was for.
Yeah. Do you have the same question, Buzz?
Yeah, the same too, now it's line 625 and then line 810.
So 625, we spent 2,200 of the 3,000.
Oh, okay.
The postage is quarterly, so it takes a little bit of time for the postage to get added into here. So the first report you were probably looking at was less, so.
So the postage is due to go up. Is it accounted for as well? They're telling me it was, I just talked to someone yesterday and they said it's going to go up probably.
It is accounted for in there,
It's already
hopefully.
accounted
And we also switched, and and when you get to finance, there's a postage line also in finance now,
Okay.
so.
And what about the 810, the new equipment line?
We left it at 500 because we never know what we're going to need, but we've only spent, like you said, $42. So could we potentially adjust that down a little bit? I don't have a new equipment in mind. Right now, if we needed a printer, that would come out of this line. I'm hoping that I don't have to replace a printer, but that's what that line is for in case there's anything like that that has to be replaced.
What kind of, this isn't a policy question, Paul, this is just
No, okay.
a factual inquiry.
No, please go ahead. I heard you. I'll try to keep my.
We do have laser printers. We have to have a check. We have a check printer that we've just replaced this past year. But most of us print to the network copiers. So it would just be if somebody had to replace one of the existing laser printers that are already out.
So this, yeah, so maybe we don't want to do a lot of cutting, because they're not cheap. You get an inkjet printer for $100.
I think, oh no, I didn't, never mind. I don't think there's anything else being charged to that right now. I was trying to see what. But yeah, the laser printers are anywhere, depends on what you get, anywhere between our check printer was $1,100, so. But,
Just kind of an insurance policy.
yeah. And now my system just froze.
Oh.
Shoot. I will point out, I did increase the budget committee expenses. Because we did, with the classes prices going up. If we can get the books ever, the book prices are gone up. So I did move that number to 500, just so that allows more of you, if you wanted to go to the class, to go to it, or to get books if they become available in the future again. So we did move that up a little. The projects, we will have expended the rest of this year's budget, or pretty close, but we did reduce that down, and you'll see that the select board also reduced it down a little further. So we added a line that you've never seen before, which is line 330 under contract services. You'll notice there's nothing budgeted there, but we had to book something. We had to book something there because we had contracted for the interim town administrator. He helped do a few things at the beginning of the year with us, so that's his costs that were put in there. There's no projected coverage though. There's nothing else being put in that line, so.
Well, I know so actually I want to go to the budget committee expenses line 610. You commented that we overspent this year. We were budgeted for 250 and we spent 390.
Yeah.
But a bunch of us went to the municipal association training. I wouldn't think we would do that again.
Well, some of you have gone multiple years, but I don't know. And it depends on if you get new members or not. How many positions are up? So you could reduce that a little if you wanted to, but.
Yeah, I'd take it back to 250. I mean, I know it's not a huge amount of money, but.
Well, Bob, who was a pretty smart guy, recommended that we go every year.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Huh.
Yep. And it was a rarity that anybody would go. So
This year was,
he felt you
yeah,
learned
yeah.
something every year.
Okay.
This year was good that you had to forego.
Yeah, I had not heard that before, Janet, so thank you.
And I will point out too, on the lines for the executive assistant and minute takers, the minute takers and the executive assistant line was not budgeted appropriately. We've actually, on the minute taker line, that's where the executive assistant for the TA and the select board is. And also the minute takers for the budget committee and the select board now, it's over expended. It wasn't budgeted with enough hours to cover the assistant and the other minute takers, unfortunately. So that's why you see an increase. But when you split them out, in reality, it does increase when you add the two together. So.
Right, it almost doubled, but.
Come on, computer.
Christine, can I just step in for a minute?
Yep.
I have to leave, and I just wanted to make a correction on the minutes. When you, at last week's meeting, and I couldn't attend, you made a comment that there was only one I can't remember what you said, but you said there was only one chance of the tax rate that we could affect. It's actually the only chance we can affect the tax rate, because the rest is town driven, it's local rate, it's school rate. And the only way we can affect the tax rate is by lowering the expenses. It's the only way. this budget committee can do that.
I agree.
Just so you know, we can affect the tax rate by lowering spending. And I was very upset that people in town knew about the 10% increase even before we did.
Okay.
That was bothering me. And then I looked up on the web and it says, for 2023, the tax rate, but down here, it says 2022.
It will, because the median ratio, the ratio hasn't been set yet. The ratio is behind, and the ratio won't get set until January, February by the Department
It's
of
the only
Revenue.
page that did it. I went back like 4 years.
Right, but those are all corrected as the ratio is set. So right now, the ratio is not set. So you're gonna see the 2023 tax rate and the 2022 ratio, because that's the ratio we're going by.
You should probably put an addendum in or something.
I can certainly
Because
talk
I look at,
to Joanne and let her know.
there's so many mistakes on the website. And I looked at it and I went, oh my God.
That's not a mistake, and it's always.
Okay, but see, I don't know that and I'm on the budget committee.
It's always been done that way. So the median ratio is what we're working with currently is 2022. So that's why that's on there. That's what people use to set their values for their properties. If they're looking in comparison, they have to go by the 2022 rate until the 2023 is set by the state, which is always at least a year behind. So it won't be until January or February.
Okay.
So Janet, I'm sorry that you were not, I'm sorry that your back is bothering you and you weren't able to come to the meeting, and
I thought I gave a false impression.
if that's the impression I gave, then I didn't speak correctly, because I certainly am not saying that we don't have input to the budget. That is our job, and we are trying to reduce. But what I was trying to point out, which I think is correct, is that the tax rate that we all pay as property owners has multiple components in it, and the town is only. We affect that, but we don't control that, because the spending by itself doesn't set the tax rate. The select board has to go and do a lot of, my understanding is they have to look at revenues, they have to look at what's in the unexpended fund and how much of that they want to take out to offset, and so it's not a direct linkage that if the budget goes up by a certain percent, that the taxes needed to be raised for the town will go up by exactly that amount. They're certainly linked, but they're not the same. So if the budget goes up by 10%, I think we're all really concerned about that, because it doesn't guarantee the tax rate's gonna go up by the 10%, but it pretty much, yeah, you're right, the tax rate's gonna go up by some horrible number that we're not gonna be happy with. And that's what I was trying to make clear.
And the new building hasn't hit yet.
It has.
Yes.
We paid our first payment this year.
Yeah.
We paid our first payment this year.
Yeah, we were paying, and at one point, even before ground was broken, we already had the loan
If we
up.
get a balance sheet, we would see
It was
that.
in the budget last year.
Yeah, it was in the budget last year. We had
Oh, I
talked
know
about
it was in
that.
the budget.
Yeah, and at one point, the finance director said we had taken out our loan,
Yeah,
and then we were actually like getting interest on that because we
Correct.
hadn't spent it yet.
correct. We
I
did.
remember that discussion.
So,
But you'll have more payments this year.
no,
You gotta have more
one
payments.
payment a year.
No,
No,
Just
I just-
24,000?
Wait, I don't understand. Are you talking about payments on the debt for the $5 million building?
Yeah.
That's in the debt service.
That should be in
It's
debt
the
service,
budget.
and that should be,
And it's
well, it's
in,
whatever was, I don't know if you
it's whatever's in that
negotiated
schedule. Yeah.
uniform, or if it's a, reducing, constant principal, and then you pay it down less interest. I don't know, but it
It's in
should
the
be
debt
roughly
and
the
the-
same year after
Yeah.
year.
it's in the budgets you're gonna talk about tonight, so it's in the debt and the interest. So you would see a line for the public safety building debt payment, loan payment, and the interest is out of the long-term interest. And so those were in this year's budget in 2023 as well. So they started in '23.
Remember, we passed it in '22.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't pay,
Right.
we got the money.
The town sold the bonds in 22, and so in
Right.
23, we are
Started-
making a principal
started
and
paying
interest,
in
and we'll do it
23.
again in 24, and
Yeah.
again in 25, and.
Okay,
Yeah,
then I'm
yeah.
sorry. I thought it would be,
Yeah.
No, it's not, it should be.
I'm just looking at everything
Yeah.
because
I,
many people are coming.
so, I'm not always great at saying words that actually, that's, sometimes what I'm thinking, what comes out of my mouth doesn't exactly match. I guess what I want to say is, I agree with you in that respect. We need to work hard to find places where we can make reductions to try to reduce the size of the spending increase for the benefit of the town, and appreciate any and all help that you've given and future help that you will give in that regard.
Thanks.
All right. All right, so so let's, on the executive budget,
Are there
Yeah.
any other questions?
that's what I'm gonna say. Any other questions? I know it's not a lot of money, but I still, if we sent 4 people, I'm going back to the budget committee expenses, which is line 610. We sent 4 people this year and we spent $390. Can't believe we're gonna send more than 4 people next year. Can we at least cut it from, I'm gonna make a motion to cut it from 500 to 400. So I'm making a motion to amend line 610 of section 4130 to a new amount of $400. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Walter. Does anyone want to ask? So I think I've already made my point before the motion, which is not what I'm supposed to do, but if we spent $390 this year and we sent 4 people, I don't see how we're going to spend more than $400. If we're going to be tough on other people's sections of the budget, we should be tough on our own section. I know $400 is not worth a
I'm
whole
sorry.
lot of effort.
I spaced it, Paul. Was the motion to reduce it to what number?
400.
Thank you.
So, any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'll call the question. So we're voting on an amendment to line 610 of section 4130, which is budget committee expenses. If you vote yes, you're voting to reduce the amount to $400. You're voting no, you're voting to keep it at the current $500. All in favor? 6. We only have 6 voters now, so again, that passes unanimously. Thank you. Does anyone else hopefully find something bigger than my $100? I don't think so.
No, I said this earlier, I think, to you before. I think that they've done really one of the best jobs I've seen in the 4 years I've been here. This is my 4th year, so adjusting, knowing that the rate increases for, the employees and things like that were up. They've adjusted quite a few things here already to the low level of where they were. I think they've done a great job on that, actually. So I don't see anything else myself,
Okay.
but that's me.
I'm good.
All right. So we'll go ahead and vote on now the bottom line for section 4130, which is the executive section, in the new amount of $190,456.03. All in favor? Yeah, what?
Did you take?
Did I say it wrong? I took $100.
No, you did.
Got
I
it.
I thought there was one other decrease, but there wasn't. No, that's it. You're right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
190.
$190,456.03.
63, yeah.
All in favor? 6 passes. Thank you. Finance? I'm saying that out loud in a question voice because I want Christina to tell me if she wants me to do something.
Yeah,
different.
we're fine. Just if you can give me just a minute to catch up.
Okay.
What number are we talking?
So we're talking
It's
4150.
4150.
We're basically kind of taking them in number order. So Christina, okay if I make a motion to move the
Yep.
bottom line? So I'll make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4150, which is finance administration, in the amount of $188,462.06. Seconded by Les.
This budget is essentially just wages.
Yep, I don't think there's much we can do
There's not
here.
much to talk about.
I was gonna make.
And with this essentially position, who knows who's gonna fill it? Something is gonna pass there.
Hopefully someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully someone is
Yeah,
correct.
hopefully a person.
Sorry, as I'm choking over here.
I mean, you hope a person that's qualified comes down.
Please.
Please, yeah.
I will point out that we did a couple of things that aren't related to payroll. Annual audit, we are most likely going to have to do a single audit. We're just not sure if we're going to have to do it for 2023's audit or if we're going to have to do it for 2024. So we did add the extra money there and brought the number up to 20,000 because the anticipation is that we have to do the single audit based on some of the funding that we are getting.
So if we do the audit on fiscal year 23, it's in this year's budget, and if we do it for fiscal year 24,
Right.
it'll be in next year's budget, because you have to wait for the year to end and
Right.
audit, okay.
Then we added the line 395 under contract services. It's not going to have a number budgeted to it, but we have to cover, that's contract services is the MRI personnel that is covering for the, helping with the finance office currently.
Yep.
So you will see a number booked to that.
But it's essentially we're moving out of the pay for that position
Correct.
into that line to then
We're not moving it.
pay for
but-
those services.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
But we don't,
And
right,
it all evens out.
we don't have to budget
Correct.
it separately because we're not spending,
But we have to
The time.
contract for those services until we hire someone.
correct. We
Yeah.
did move the executive assistant for finance and HR from the executive budget into this budget.
right,
So that was that position. That's why it looks like, it makes it look like it's a new position. It's not. That person has been here. It's just been the title has been streamlined and it's now executive assistant for finance and HR. We also moved meetings, memberships and trainings for those two individuals into this budget and office supplies. Oh, there is no postage, so executive will cover postage. But we moved their meetings, memberships, and trainings, and we moved their office supplies into this budget. And that number didn't get corrected on my copy.
It looks like
which-
$0.
which
yeah.
line are you talking about?
But I don't think that's correct on what we sent the budget.
Which line are you talking
Yeah,
about?
which one?
620.
620. I think, so what happens with this system, if you hit a wrong button and remove a line and add it back in, it disappears, everything. So let me just double check. Actually, I'm not gonna worry about it. There's nothing budgeted for that line. How's that?
What does MRI stand for?
Municipal Resources Incorporated.
Okay.
But I agree with Charlie's comment, I don't see anything really that is an opportunity to cut because we're not going to take a position out of the town's workforce, or we're not gonna change someone's salary, and
Audits are audits.
audits
We're
are
there.
audits, and training is training, and there's not really, especially if, yeah, so anyway. I don't have any, I don't see anywhere that I'm making a suggestion to make any change, so I want to make sure everyone else has an opportunity to speak up before I call a vote to move the bottom line, which I will do since I'm not hearing anything. So we're going to vote on the bottom line for section 4150, which is financial administration, in the original amount that was moved of $188,462.06. All in favor? 6. Unanimous. Thank you. So that was 4150. The next one is 4153, which is legal. I make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4153, which is legal expenses, in the amount of $80,000. Seconded by Susan. Don't think there's really.
And that's still our best guess.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
actually, there's some bills that will be coming out of that. We are going to also try to encumber $10,000. The board hasn't voted on that yet. They will be hopefully Thursday. I'm trying to encumber 10,000 of that money to go because we have professional services that we didn't anticipate for next year. So when we cut this budget to 80, we didn't have that number. We have a case in court, and we have to pay. We're going to have to pay $10,000 for our professional services for the case that's in court. That's over and above the attorney fees. We have a
It's an
utility. It's
expert
utility
witness.
expert witness. So. I'm going to the board to ask them to encumber that money because we didn't know that when we were doing this budget. I've also just gotten notified that the rate for both attorneys is going up. So I would ask that we try not to cut this anymore, but we did try with the select board to reduce it some with best guess where we were going to be, and we're going to try to save some money from this budget in order to help for next year. So
Right. I can remember past years when the actual spend was considerably above, so I'm not looking to cut this. I appreciate you and the select board taking it down from 100 to 80. I mean, we could cut it more, but I don't think that would be a
We'll make a
wise thing to
difference.
do.
We're gonna fight the cases that need to be fought.
Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of like welfare
Yeah.
spending. We spend what we spend, no matter
Yeah.
what we budget.
Yeah.
I anticipate we are going to finish the year even without the conference closer to 70 this year because we are involved in some things right now that we haven't been billed for. So once we get billed for those, I do think we'll finish closer to 70, and then hopefully we'll be able to do the encumbrance as well. So
Okay. Not hearing any other comments or questions, I will go ahead and we will move the bottom line of, vote on approving the bottom line of section 4153, legal expenses in the amount of $80,000. All in favor? 6 yeses, it's unanimous. All right, the next one is 4155, personnel administration. So I will make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4155, personal administration, in the amount of $1,044,480.39.
Second.
Seconded by Les. So,
do you want me to touch base real quick?
Can I just ask a question about 260 first?
Sure, go ahead.
I just don't
Yeah.
understand the comment. Can you, what does that mean?
It used to be in the past that we used to have it would not exceed cost. So if they quoted us something, they would quote us, for instance, they quoted us 63,638. That doesn't mean that it couldn't exceed that number, is what that part means. It was a 10% overall increase on workers' comp based on payroll, and we recalculated the cost. They're split between our budget and water and sewer's budget. So they used to give us, you'll see also unemployment compensation, we used to get a not to exceed number. So they would say, you're not going to exceed $5,000 next year. They don't do that anymore. They say, this is where you're at and it could exceed.
So this is where it's at.
Yes, so they give us a number and that's where we're at. So.
is it that it could exceed because we hire more people and have more
It-
hours, or could it also exceed because they decide to raise their rates and just charge us more money?
I don't
Both of
think
those
they'll
things?
raise their rates at this point, but yes, it could exceed if we hire more people, more hours. I think what they were doing is saying, your number won't exceed, and then towns were obviously hiring more people and they were still stuck at that same rate. So they've chosen not to do that anymore.
Okay, so you don't anticipate that they're gonna use this as we
No.
can charge whatever we want, but they're gonna say, those of you that were waiting to get your bill and before you did any hiring, we're not gonna put up
Right.
with that anymore.
Yeah, these are the
Well, that doesn't
increases.
seem unreasonable.
These are the increases they've given us. So unemployment, it's 16.1%. For workers' compensation is 10%. Health insurance that is a guaranteed maximum at 14.6%. However, we won't get the actual number. It could be less in March. We had to budget worst case scenario. So the guaranteed maximum is 14.6. I think you were told last year that your guaranteed maximum was 17%, but with people shifting in positions, it ended up only being a 12% increase in that line. And then in March, when it came around, their 17.1 went down to 16.7. So it does adjust slightly. And what saved us was people, new hires coming in, family plans changing to single plans, and vice versa. So this year we don't have that. We budgeted half the year at this, because our rates will change in July, by the way. They go until June, so we're at one rate until June 30th, and then July 1st through the end of the year, we're at the increase 14.6%. So that's why you only see the 7% increase.
Okay. So I have a question, and I'm not really trying to change anything. I just want to make sure that I understand. So I know that line 192 is proposed wage increases, and then the FICA, the Medicare, and the retirement is all a percentage of that, because when you pay someone money, you also have to pay the taxes and all that other stuff. But like for the health insurance, is that all the health insurance, or is that just like more health insurance? Because that's not like a health insurance increase. Like line 192 is wage increases, but line 210 is all of the health insurance, right?
So line 192 is wage increases for everyone except for library and water and sewer.
Okay.
Those are budgeted in their budgets. Line 210 is everyone but water and sewer. Water and sewer budgets their health insurance in their budgets, but library is included in this budget.
All right. And then the same thing with the unemployment and the workers' comp. It's all
but water and sewer.
but water and sewer, and it's not an increase. It's all of the insurance for unemployment and all the insurance for workers' comp. For all the people that are covered other than water and sewer.
Correct. It is, and it is an increase based on the numbers that they're giving us. Yep.
Okay.
But it's what we're being quoted.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't see any opportunities to cut here.
No.
No.
Okay, so not hearing any further questions or motions to...
I've got one question.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
About 7 years ago at town meeting, many people stood up and we voted by a majority of the people present to have a study and to increase employees' wages competitive with the surrounding communities. Is merit raises the reason why they've fallen behind? I don't like merit raises. I got a different name for them, but
Yes, we did. Well, it wasn't so much, yes, town meeting, I'm trying to think how the town meeting vote affected it. I know that when I was on the select board previously, we did, I think Walter, it's many more years than 7, because there was a warrant article to do a wage study. That wage study was done, and then it was...
that was the previous year, the order to do the wage.
It was implemented, the goal was to implement it over 2 years. It was implemented that first year, and then it kind of got put on the shelf and for a couple of years, so that kind of fell behind. And then the last board that I was on, we did vote to do the second half of the wage study implementation. And then other boards have decided how or what they were going to do for raises on a yearly basis. The previous board to this, previous board before I came on again, decided that merit was a way to go to some degree. I get what you're saying about merit, but I personally think there's something to it. I don't like the idea of getting the same raise as somebody else just because you survived another year, even though you're doing a better job than that person. But that's why I don't work for a municipality or in that situation. So the very involved answer to your question is that that was done, it was implemented, it was never really kept up.
I understood that was the intent.
It absolutely was the intent, but
And now we're hit with a big surprise because it wasn't adhered to.
two things. Certain years, I think you're right, it wasn't adhered to because the board was afraid of that number, or, we had the whole, and then we're seeing unprecedented
I agree there.
pressure on us to retain our people. So I don't think it's fair to say it's all because it wasn't kept up. I think that is several boards and voters, are responsible for that over the years.
I don't think the voters were led to believe they were voting against keeping employees.
No, you're right. I
around.
don't think they were led to believe that way. But I think when you don't have increases, people vote for it. That's what they're voting for, whether they know it or not.
But that's the thing, a lot of people don't know. So being in the outside world, the standard practice where I used to work was 3% every year. However, based on, like you said, a merit, if you did outstanding, you could get up to 5. They blocked it at 5%. Most of it was 3%.
Yeah.
And years that went really good, we got a 4% across the board. But 3%, if things were not so good, the company couldn't, whatever, do it. So to see something that is above 10% and all this stuff is really hard on a year where our tax rate has gone up. I mean, they're gonna look at all that.
Yeah,
and
get
it's,
it 100%.
yeah, it's gonna be hard to swallow.
I go back to, I think we're charged with vote. Ned always said it best, voters always make the right decision.
Yeah.
However it goes.
Yeah.
And we also always say, we'll live with what you give us. But this is our best recommendation based on what we're dealing with.
Right.
It's a huge increase. I'm hiring people with zero experience at what I would have paid 10 years ago.
It's crazy. Yeah.
People with 20 years of experience.
I know. Crazy.
It does look like, so you did a wage study in 2016.
Yeah.
The one before that was from 2007, so it was a 9-year span before you did a wage study. But even just using, what was it? When we were reviewing even the increases that you see in 2023, the 4%, there was 1% COLA and 3% went towards the step increase category.
And when we had the merit raises a few years back,
Yeah.
it was 3%. If you scored 100, if you scored at the height of your merit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some people got
And you
1.5.
got it a few months earlier. If you were a high performer, you got it April 1st.
Right.
So
Right. So would it have been possible to, and I probably don't think you can do that, but with employees to offer them a 5% now with a promise or something of increasing so much down instead of a 10% right up front? I know you're trying to bring everybody up to that level, but has it been discussed or ever thought about?
The 10% number is interesting.
it's an average.
It's an average.
It's an
It's not
average,
like
yeah.
everybody's getting 10% across the board.
Right,
You
but it's
have
on average.
you have positions that are different. You have
Some are higher, some are lower.
Right.
right, but some are higher for not just because they need a raise. They're higher
Right.
because they weren't on the correct
Right.
steps.
Right.
And so you could say you're going to do it over 2 years, but that bill comes due
Right.
eventually, and it's hard.
Well, the next board could also say no.
Right, and it's also hard to retain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's a hard pill. We said from the beginning we were going to advocate for our people, and that's what we're doing, and we get if we don't agree.
And we did a lot of adjustments to bring people where they were supposed to be on the scale. A
Right.
lot of work was done in that area too, because changes hadn't been made.
We created a subcommittee that went out and looked at other comparable towns, listed everything out, and then came back to the board and said, this is where we're at, this is where we need to be, and what do you want us to do at this point, so.
Right.
I guess the comment that I want to make is that I've said in the past that I am not comfortable looking at individual wage lines and making changes. I don't want to change. I personally am not comfortable trying to change an individual employee's line. I support, I gotta swallow at least twice, but I support this, but I want to point out to everyone that if you disagree, this is the place to speak up. If you think we're paying too much to people, 192 in this section of the budget is where you should be making a comment. This is not an individual employee. This is wage increases for everyone. So if you think the select board has made a mistake and you think the budget committee should be making a change, this would be your opportunity to speak up. Having said all that, I'm not making a motion to amend. I think that's, go ahead, Christine.
I just want to clarify too, if you do make a motion here, you need to also relook then at the library and the water and sewer budgets. Well, water sewer you'll see.
We haven't
Because
got to yet.
if you adjust it here, it's only going to adjust it for everybody but them.
Gotcha, okay.
And this again, unfortunately, is worst case scenario budgeted here. If positions change, that could also change this number, but we had to budget worst case scenario. So.
I was supporting this already, but I'm a pretty strong user of the library. I was in the library on Saturday and there weren't many people in there, so I got talking to the two people that were in there working. And I was looking, I said, can you confirm that, so the library was closed today. I said, can you confirm that Patty's gonna be in? Because I wanted to touch base with her before the meeting tonight. And so we got talking a little bit about the budget. I said, no promises, nothing's been approved, nothing whatever, but they're pitching for you to get more money. And one of the part-time librarians said to me, oh, I just took another job in, I mean, I'm not gonna say a name, but anyway, she took it, and I said, I was heartbroken. I said, so you're leaving? She said, no, I took a second job. I'm going to continue to work in Bristol, but I'm going to work in this other place. And she said, I'll be making $1.50 an hour more in this other town. And if I was willing to go to Laconia, I probably could make $4 an hour more. But I love Bristol and I want to work here. And that kind of drove down to me that I think the select board made the right decision. We got a lot of good people and we don't want them to leave. And so we got to suck it up and give them more money.
And not to further and make your decision, but I will say there's a town nearby that's offering $20,000 and
What, sign-on bonus?
Sign-on bonus just to hire police department members. And that's one town. Another one's offering 30, and I'm like, how do they do that?
That's not even the scary number. They took $400,000 from their unexpended fund balance to pay bonuses to hire police and fire.
I hadn't heard that, but I had heard, I think it was last year, they were talking, again, it was Laconia, probably because it's Laconia Daily Sun that I'm reading, but that they were struggling to hire people for their fire department, and they finally filled all the positions because they were giving them, I don't remember if it was 10 or 20, but they were giving them a good sized sign-on bonus.
I know we're going down a rabbit hole.
I know,
but
sorry.
Just as an example, all right, I'm fairly certain I'm about to lose an employee to the state of Vermont. Anyways.
Anyway, you're gonna lose some.
An employee to the state of Vermont who is going for a position as county forester. She does not have her license currently. She doesn't have the educational requirement, although they will help her get it. And the pay is roughly the same, but they're going to forgive her student loans over time.
Because she's working in the public.
Yep. I mean, these are the things that we're faced with, and that's even in the private sector. We see the other towns. There's only so many people right now for a lot more jobs than there are people, and it's been tough to retain.
How many people would you say, if we've lost any to those people that have offered those sign-on bonuses and things like that, have we lost anyone for that?
We've lost police officers
That's what I meant.
over the last couple of years.
We have.
Do I anticipate we might lose additional police officers if we don't do something to retain them?
There is we have heard from employees that same thing was just said. I could make, it's always that question. Yes, I could go make $4 more an hour, but I have to drive an hour, or I have to, or I have less flexibility. I'd be the low man on the totem pole. I have less flexibility with my schedule. So we're trying trying everything to retain folks. But pay is, if you're 30 years old with a family, that $4 is a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Then
Walter,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I have a question. We supported tuition assistance. Why isn't that being used? Is there no interest in it?
So we just redone the whole personnel manual, and we're meeting with all of the staff, and we're actually talking about tuition reimbursement to them. I don't think there's an understanding. Currently the budget's only $2,000, so it won't get you very far. However, if there really is a need for it, I'm sure that we would work something out for them. They get regular training in their departments when they're required for things, but anything career development wise would be in tuition reimbursement, and I think people don't understand it was there. So all of my meetings, we're meeting with every single department and trying to get every employee into one meeting before the end of the year where we go over the whole manual and explain that to them. So
I know one thing, I spent every nickel that I could get of that, my whole time at General Motors and with the state. I exhausted every penny that was available. And it worked out incredibly to my advantage.
I think a lot of people don't understand that it's there and what they can use it for. So
General Motors made it known to you what it was there. It was to their interest to train people and have people prepared for jobs that were coming. And there were a lot of people that didn't use any, but those that did made out extremely well, and it wasn't called merit raises. It was a good raise.
We are budgeting better for this than we used to. This used to not even be its own line. It used to be kind of hidden in the budget. At least it is pronounced in the budget. So I think we are headed in the right direction.
You got cut off.
Oh yeah, it used
Walter,
to be
something you wanted to
Raise
say?
my hand.
Okay.
hidden in a line that made no sense
Right.
what it was named.
So I want to be clear. I personally support this, and I think we're starting to spin wheels, but I wanted, as chair, I feel my job is to serve the committee and make things clear. I want to make you guys clear that if you think that this is something that we can't afford, that this would be a good time to speak up. But I think I don't think anyone is looking to do that. So,
and I would suggest that to the chair that we approach this proactively with the public.
yep.
This increase
When
in
we
particular.
get into the comments, I
Yep.
was going to bring that up. So, so I don't want to cut people off, but I feel like we're starting to repeat ourselves. So what I'd like to do, unless someone has something they really want to bring up, is go ahead and move the bottom line. So we're going to vote on the bottom line of section 4155, which is personal administration, and the amount is $1,044,480.39. All in favor? I got 6. Okay, passes. 194 general government. So, I'm making a motion to consider the bottom line of section 4194 general government in the amount of $436,207. Second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Russ. All right, so, you have anything, Christina, you wanna bring up here? Is this the one that,
Yeah, so
had
actually,
the new line, right?
yeah, if you look at the bottom of the page, you should look at the one printed 12/19. That I left you guys a copy of that, on your desk.
So there was a change to this after the invitation was sent out and the files were sent. So the piece of paper that was on the table,
It doesn't change the dollar.
it doesn't
amount.
change the dollar, but it adds a new line. That's what
Oh, right
Christina
here,
told
yeah.
me.
So, in error, when I was going through, realized that the town clock, was left off of the budget. I'm not asking that you adjust it, I just needed to put the line back in. And so it's $750.
So line 490, town clock was not in the budget until tonight, as far as we knew. And what Christina is pointing out is that in this year's budget, it's budgeted at $750, budgeted and spent. And at least at this point, she's telling us she's not asking us to add 750. She just needs the line in the budget, but we're not changing the amount that's being budgeted for next year. It's something you'll find in,
We're not sure what happened,
collect
why
enough
it got
nickels,
left out.
collect
Yeah.
enough nickels, you'll make it up somewhere else.
So that's why you have the new print on your desk, is just because of that line. I can just touch base. Mileage was increased, and the reason that was increased is, the reason that was increased is we currently do not have a town vehicle. We are hoping to get a town vehicle with whichever police car is coming out. So we do have to pay mileage. We have an enforcement officer who's using his private vehicle, and we pay him mileage to go. We also pay mileage when people go to training classes. And then, so we have two people from the enforcement office that go out, the manager as well as the enforcement officer. But all of the mileage for the executive office and most of this building, and I think that's it, get paid out of this budget. So obviously we far exceeded that this year without a vehicle.
But that 500 was based on having a town car.
But it was based on having
And
a
then
town
we
car,
did.
yeah. So I only moved it up to 2,500 and the board agreed with the anticipation that we hope to get a vehicle halfway through the year, if it's still in working order. And then we could use it for the rest of the year, so.
Mileage rate is up $0.015. That's
No,
the first of the year.
that's set by IRS.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is set by IRS, so.
Well, depending on which side that you're on.
The 341 line that says cost for fiber including maintenance, is there offsetting revenues related to
No,
our working?
we don't make money off of the fiber currently. We have 48 lines of fiber that are attributed to the town. It varies in, I believe there are only 24 that go to water and sewer, but we have to pay UNH as the provider through fiber, and it's $400 a month. That's reduced because it used to be $1,100 a month. And we've worked with them. They're actually moving their equipment here tomorrow. So we will be down for roughly 2 hours, no phones and internet tomorrow between 10 and 12. But the firewall and the UNH equipment, they're moving it here. They're not charging us anything extra to have it here, but it will become a centralized location to make it easier to work on the fiber when there's a problem, so So it also includes, I do believe I can adjust the consolidated billings, but that 18,000 is with anticipating that I can adjust those consolidated billings.
Oh, consolidated communications.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I have a question on line 410, which is electricity. So we're currently buying our electricity from from
Constellation.
Constellation, yeah, thank you, I know I didn't say the right word. But we're also potentially.
We cannot participate with the other program. We're contracted with Constellation. So
when the Constellation contract ends, we would have an option.
Correct.
But at this point, we're in a contract that we can't break.
Correct.
Okay.
So we have to pay Eversource and Constellation, and Eversource, I think last I checked, is dropping. They were 22 cents when we looked at this. Constellation were locked in, and at the time, actually for these years, it's been good to be locked in, and they're at 14.8. But I've heard that Eversource is dropping below that number. So for a little period of time, we may be paying a little more for Constellation, but it's a very volatile market still. So we did reduce it some based on that.
Right. I knew, and I was going to say it. I know. Eversource is going down, but we're locked into Constellation, so
For one more year.
It doesn't sound like there's really an opportunity here.
One more year, we're with them. And we locked into a 3-year because at the time we locked in, it was, like we said, 22, 23 cents.
Yeah.
So.
No, it made sense then.
Can I ask, what's the newfound area access? What is that?
Which number line?
That
I'm
is
sorry,
Kate.
815.
Thank you.
That's, 815. That is actually our media manager, Kate Overton. He has taken on a number of duties besides the videotaping that he does for the select board and the budget committee meetings.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken on the website. There are 3.
Bristol Buzz.
He's got the Bristol Buzz. So the board voted to do an increase, which it's going to put us over budget this year, but that number is the correct number for him.
Okay.
That line is also technically offset by the franchise checks that we get, but those numbers vary. It will not cover the full 57, the franchise rates that we're getting. We are set to renegotiate that in another year. So.
Okay. Did you have a? No.
When do we anticipate getting a town car?
If we can get a town car, we're hoping to get it. I think it will be halfway through the year. It'll depend on when we can get the police department's vehicle purchased, and as long as everything's running appropriately. So.
And at that point, that 660 line would be used.
Yes. Yep.
For the town car, getting it to what you need to be for a town car.
So if we don't get that for 6 months, you could potentially adjust that line slightly. I just don't know what.
But it's another place to pull from if you go over on mileage reimbursement.
Yes, and I don't know for sure.
Because you will go over mileage reimbursement
Right.
if you don't get a town car.
If we get the town car too,
So that's gonna even
we don't know
itself
what
out.
we're gonna have to do to repair it.
Yeah.
So
Come out of the police budget.
I know.
We're hoping.
I don't think I'll
Get it repaired before we
We're-
change it.
We're hoping to retire the oldest police vehicle in working order and turn it into a town car, not replace the crashed police vehicle in working order.
They did the car that we're supposed to get, they just put some money in because they had to keep it going, but, and they think that they're giving us a fairly decent car to use for the rest of the year, but that was now, so.
Okay, anything else? Does anyone need any more time, or we want to go ahead and move the bottom line? Okay, we'll move the bottom line. So we're going to vote now on the bottom line for section 4194, general government. We didn't make any changes, so the amount is $436,207. All in favor? Passes 6-0. Okay, that was general government. We've already done cemeteries. 4196, insurance, property and liability. So I'll make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4196, insurance, property liability, in the amount of $70,945.90.
What's the numbers on those? I'm sorry.
The section is
Yes,
4196.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Charlie. Thank you, Charlie.
So, the first line, 480,
Yep.
we did get it's a 9% increase. It does not appear that it was budgeted correctly for 2023. And that's one thing that we found when we were doing the calculations out. The reason 2020, actually there's the note, increase is slightly higher as there was a credit carried over from 2022 to 2023. So it makes it look like it's going up more than 9%, but it isn't. They gave us we had a credit that was carried over.
use up.
Right. Insurance deductible, that line will be going over. We just have to, those numbers haven't been booked into this budget yet.
Okay.
And we didn't make any changes, we just left it at the same. And then a small increase to cover the costs of we split with the Historical Society for the old fire station building, and that rate went up this year, so.
We're gonna have to come up with a new name, because the old fire station's gonna be the one on Lake Street. That's gonna be the ancient fire station.
Well, that's why we had to rip down the old town hall. To get rid of that building.
The
Yeah.
historic fire
It's
station.
way too
Thank you.
confusing. Yeah. We call it the historic fire station, yeah. Not the old
Yeah,
station.
that one up here is now the historic town hall.
But that, once the building is completed, we will no longer use the historical?
No, this is
The
this is the one going south on 3A.
Yeah, I know what that is, yeah. Yeah, don't we have a vehicle park there?
So we,
time
currently
to
the fire
time.
the fire
Oh, so not-
department.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
The fire department does have some storage in the basement
Yeah.
of that building, but the second floor is strictly Historical Society.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
Right, so the Historical Society pays part of the insurance bill, and the town pays part of the
We've
insurance
split it
bill on that
50/50,
building.
yeah.
They have an old engine that the fire company found an old Bristol engine,
Okay,
and they're trying to restore it with
Nice.
private funds.
right,
Yeah.
right, okay. Yeah,
That's-
I knew there was something.
I think that's the only thing there at the moment
Right, okay.
for vehicle.
Yeah, I've never been in there. I thought there were file cabinets or something. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I think they
You have to go in the door sideways. It's not that wide.
And you don't store anything there that you,
Aren't willing to
Yeah.
get damp?
it does get damp in there, yeah.
All right, I don't see any opportunities here, so does anyone else have any questions or? All right, we'll go ahead and move the bottom line on section 4196, insurance property liability. We didn't make any changes, so it's the original amount of $70,945.90. All in favor? 6 yeses, that passes, thank you. 4521 beaches.
So I'm,
Do you wanna skip? What do you wanna do?
no, we're presenting for the speech supervisor, Deb Tivy. I think I've explained.
You have explained.
I have explained that, so I can definitely present
Okay, before
that.
you do that, let me make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4521 beaches in the amount of $30,421. Anyone want to second that?
I'll second it.
Susan will second that? All right, so I know Deb can't be here. I don't know all the details. I don't need to know the details. I know Deb is not here and not able to come, so you will answer whatever questions we have.
So there is no change, no proposed change to the attendant line. We weren't able to fill all of the positions for 2023, but we are hoping to, because we want to reduce Deb from here. We don't want Deb to be a primary person at the beach. She would be a supervisory role. Deb is also mine and the select board's administrative assistant, so we would like to keep her focus more here. She'll still be fully involved, but she won't be working hours there. So that's why we didn't change the attendant line. The biggest change that you will see is we added a small change on the water testing. We added for an extra test. This past year we had to test again when we had a concerning sample, and the second sample came in and it was fine, but we had no room in the testing for an extra test if it was required. Beach maintenance improvement is a bigger change. We had to hire a new swim line installation contractor, and that person has quoted us a $2,500 rate. We previously used an employee that worked for the town that no longer is doing that work, so we had to hire a contractor to do the work. And then we did adjust the materials and supplies because we tried to purchase what we needed for next year out of materials and supplies this year, and so we did reduce the line and left some money in there just in case. So.
What was the beach sticker change that she
So
had mentioned?
there's a whole ordinance change.
Bristol Buzz?
I did not read about that. No.
It's in.
We
Do you want
posted
to-
it also on the website.
Can you just give me the 2 sentence?
So there are now going to be 4 types of stickers that you can get. One is the regular standard parking permit, and that is you're allowed to have 2 residential permits, 2 vehicle parking permits. There's
For the same $10?
Yes.
Okay.
So $10
Yeah.
per permit.
Okay.
The next one is I can't remember the title. What did we say? I think we said transferable or flex.
Is that the trust one?
No, now I'm gonna have to look on the website. So the next one allows you, as a family who may have 4 vehicles, you still can only bring 2 vehicles to the beach at a time for parking, but you have to purchase 1 standard permit for $10. And you now have what's called a transferable permit that can go on any of the vehicles in your household. So if your child wants to go to the beach, they can take that permit, put it in their car.
But that transferable permit
It's
is
$25.
$25.
Yeah.
So it is extra cost.
And then the guest, we didn't change anything to.
It's $50.
It's $50 a week. And then the trustees, right now, anybody who's in a trust can get a permit, and it's just $10. What the board decided was that they could do a transferable permit, 2 of them. It would be a total cost of $100. And anybody who's on the trust would be added to these transferable permits. So you still could only bring 2 vehicles to the beach at one time, but everybody who's in a trust, whether it's 2 or 10 people, would be able.
Oh, so trust is an ownership of a property.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
When maybe you might have the case where 5 different adults all own the same house and all want to.
Right. You could have grandparents who then added their children, then added their grandchildren.
Yeah.
So it can be a lot of people, and they all are on the trust. So we've done it so that they can have 2 what we call transferable permits, and but they can only have 2 vehicles at the beach at one time. So.
And previously, they fell under the same that they just could only get the $10 permit, and it had to go on 1 particular vehicle.
Correct.
So we've added more flexibility,
Yes.
but with that flexibility, we're going to see a very slight increase in revenue from it.
See, it depends. I'm curious what we're going to see, but trusts is a substantial increase.
Yeah. Because they were essentially just maxed out. You
Right.
could only each household could only possibly
Have 2.
spend $20.
Right.
Right.
But now we can see some that are
With
100.
the,
It would
right,
be-
with the exception of the guest ones, but.
Yeah. Yeah, you figure that with the transferable, we call it a combo if I remember correctly. But you so $10 for a standard and $25 for a transferable. So it's $35. You're getting the extra you're getting an extra $15 potentially on those per household. So
Now, do these have to always be bought at the town hall, or
Yes.
can they be bought right there at they can know, like a guest coming in said, they want to go to the lake and.
currently, no. You have guest permits you can never get at the lake,
Never.
even if the attendants are selling, you can't get them because you have to come in and provide certain information.
Information.
Trusts
Okay.
can't get at the lake either.
Okay.
If they were doing day pass, and currently the board is not doing day passes,
Okay, that's
but
good.
if they were doing day passes, then you could get them at the lake.
Okay.
Everything else has to be purchased here though.
Right.
Currently.
Mhm.
Very good. More than I remembered
Well
about the
said.
conversation.
It's in the paper.
So we are trying to draw, we're
I
gonna,
was interested in the revenue
Yeah.
impact, now I kinda understand.
yeah. So, I'll explain the revenue that's on your desk after too, but
Yeah,
go.
we'll get to that later.
Okay,
I look at line 430 and I see a big increase. And I see that there's,
oh wait,
I mean, part of it is for the new swim line and
New signs,
new
barrels.
swim line. Part of it is for the signs and the barrels.
so
And
Claire,
I guess I'm starting to say something, and now as chair, I'm gonna shut myself down because I'm not gonna
well, let me
micromanage
clarify.
what Deb is doing. But if we put out barrels and signs last year and they got trashed and we're gonna buy more, why are we not expecting them to get trashed again?
So one barrel was
Because we don't
stolen.
give in to terrorists.
We don't negotiate. I'm kidding. So, 2 barrels, we had one that was backed over by mistake and one that was stolen. So we do have to replace them. They do have parking by permit only, on them. This is the first year that we've had damage like that or stealing. So we do have to replace those. Because of the new rules on the signs, we have to replace, we did have signs that were damaged and removed. Some of that was wind damage on Avery Crouse, and we chose not to replace them this year because we knew there was a potential we were changing the rules. So now we have to replace the signs at both beaches with the rule change. There's a couple of rule changes, and I can't remember them word for verbatim right now.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's a
that
test
doesn't
here.
matter for us.
So, yeah, so that's why those 2 things, those are only, if I remember correctly, they're only about 800, maybe, or 1,000 of that budget. It's, the biggest increase is obviously the new swim line contractor.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone want to make any changes? Or are we ready to move the line? Move the section? I think we're ready. So we'll vote now on approving the bottom line of section 4521 beaches in the amount of $30,421. All in favor? 6. Everyone voted yes, so we are done with beaches.
Would you mind skipping economic development?
I do not mind, so we'll go on to debt. We'll
I'll
go on to
reschedule.
4711, which is debt service.
Yeah,
Bye, Sean.
Can't take it anymore.
yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, Sean, your drink bottle is still upstairs.
I got it.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
What did you say?
Have a good night.
4111?
Appreciate all the work.
4711.
Thanks, Sean.
So we'll make a motion to move the bottom line of section 4711, which is debt service principal, in the amount of $389,329.62.
Second,
That was less?
I woke up.
Thank you. So we have a second. I will entertain anything somebody wants to say, but since I'm not willing to let the town of Bristol default on our bonds,
I think it is.
I don't think we can make any changes.
I think it is important to note that essentially half of it is the public safety building, half of this amount.
Yes.
Yeah.
The half of this is the public safety.
Yeah.
The 2 new things are the sidewalk holder, which we had a lease of $20,242. Unfortunately, the new lease, which is a lease purchase, we will own the holder at the end of the lease, did increase substantially. But we will own that at the end of the 5 years. And then the last one is a new item. It's the Central Street Forest Main Lake Street project. We've estimated what the loan payment will be. We are working with USDA. We will have a loan for the town's portion of the project costs. But we've gotten funding from EPA, use CDBG, and we're working on EDA. So if all of the funding comes through, then this will be the loan payment.
So this is the big
2 projects.
projects to
Yeah.
repair and fix the sewer system.
The town's portion of it.
And that of course, that cost is being split between the sewer department and the general town.
Yes. So the town it's a 50-50 split. The town is paying a portion of it in the sewer department, not the water, just the sewer. You'll see that in their debt service as well. And you'll see both of these in the debt and the interest. So
Right.
we may be able to revisit that 997 line as soon as we are able to get the updated loan information. That might be adjusted, but we base this off of we estimated the payment based off of a loan calculator that we had to put this in here, and we're hoping we'll be able to adjust this down some. So before you close your budget, I'm hoping to give you a better number.
Okay. So I feel obligated to point out that my statement was not correct. Not all of these items are payments on current bonds. So if we wanted to be unpleasant towards the people who made up this budget, we could take out the money for the sidewalk or for the sewer project, but that would be pretty nasty on our part. But those bonds have not been sold yet, so we are not obligated yet to make those payments, but we're anticipating that that's coming. I'm not suggesting we should do that, but I want to make clear that it's different than I was expecting, that I was thinking, and it's different than how I said it. And so I want to make sure you guys are clear on that also.
Right. If the sidewalk holder lease, we will have to make that payment in January. We saved about, I think it was somewhere around $5,000.
Has the town
We
signed?
signed a lease, but we always have an option to leave the lease.
We have an escape clause.
Right, so we would have to make that first payment though in January, and that saved us about $5,000 to do that. If we waited to October, that payment was gonna be much higher. Which, those are the 2 time frames that they gave us, was either, they wanted us to pay now, and I'm like, no, you
gotta wait for the new
no,
year.
you gotta wait for the new year. So that's what we did with this, so we pushed it out to the new year, so.
So now every year from now, until when the loan is paid off for the public safety building, that will remain the yearly
No.
payment, 186?
No, because
No,
over
it
time
varies.
you pay more on principal and less on interest.
Well, yeah,
So
it's the same
this
as a house,
this
I
number will
understand that, but-
increase over time. This principal number, because every year we pay more principal on the loan and less interest.
The
Because
good,
this is just principal. This
So,
number.
I will tell you too, the neat thing about this program that we have, we hope to set this up ahead for the years, so those numbers are in there and they're readily available when you do ask those questions going forward. So the budgets will be set up ahead. Obviously they can be changed, but we'll have all those numbers programmed in for the year for the life of the loan.
I just,
And that's what I meant, it's the same as a house, I understand that, so that's your principal, so it's gonna take a while to go down. So
Correct.
mostly, everything for the first 5 years or 10 years or whatever is not gonna be looking different so much.
So the bonds we sold, the town sold for the public safety building are what term? Do you know off the top of your head?
So
Are
we
they
did,
30-year bonds? Are they 20-year bonds?
we bonded the project at 4.8 million,
Yeah.
and it's, was it? I don't think it's 30. I will find that out for you if you can just give me a minute. I have that here.
I'm just curious because I don't know. And then the other thing I was going to say was just, Charlie, so I don't know the answer, but when you sell the bonds, you do have a number of options. You can say, I'm going to pay.
Are you talking about where we invested them?
No, I'm talking about the fact that I don't know what the terms of this paying back. Do we have a level payment?
No.
Do we have a level
It will-
principal payment and the interest will go down? Do we
That's
have?
what I
It'll
meant, that's what I
adjust
was
every
asking.
year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the point, it's like the house, you have a mortgage, the mortgage is the same every year.
For a long
But every
time,
year,
yeah.
more of that goes towards the principal unless it
Right.
goes for interest,
But-
of that same dollar.
Exactly.
What I'm trying to say, I don't know if the town did this, the
Yeah.
town can negotiate and say, we will make,
Yep.
instead of making a constant total payment, we will make a constant principal payment, and then we will pay whatever interest needs to be paid. So you pay more up front, but you pay less over the length of the whole thing because you're paying more principal early.
Yeah.
I don't know but it's basically, if you take principal and interest and add them together,
Yeah.
if you assume that it's gonna be the same for the next 20 some odd years, you wouldn't be very wrong.
Right.
I think it was
Oftentimes,
20,
public bonds have
but I
sinking
thought it was
funds,
less
yeah.
or something. I think it's 20.
We pay
But
a whole-
I-
You know,
I
I expect you know more about it than I do, so thank you.
40 years of it.
No, so what does it say, what do you mean, so at the very end you have to pay?
Corporate bonds, business corporate bonds, not necessarily municipal bonds, often back end the principal with what's called a sinking fund. They're basically mandatory prepayments, but they come in the last
Oh, yeah.
4 or 5 years of the bonds.
Oh, yeah, oh, wow, okay. And that could be high?
Yeah, they're very high.
Wow.
But it's basically, it's forcing the obligor on the bond to refinance.
Yeah, right.
But it's also a guarantee by the lender, the insurance companies that I work with, that you're gonna get your money.
Right, okay.
But again, for this.
So we have a bond payment schedule, just, it is, took me a minute to find it. It looks like it's 20 years.
So 23 through 42?
It says, it says 20 payments here, but I have to turn to the
Just
second
take-
page.
If anybody got their cell phone handy, just multiply this number by 20 and see what you get.
Yeah.
That won't tell you exactly, but that'll tell you whether it's gonna be 20 years or 30
2042.
years.
We pay our last payment in 2042.
Okay.
And that last payment does this has principal and interest, so the interest would drop to $9,710,
That's what the loan is,
Yeah,
but the
20 by
loan
12.
payment would be $319,000. So your interest on the other side would be much lower, but
Yeah.
your loan payment would be higher.
So it sounds like it's a regular mortgage with
Like a mortgage, yeah, exactly.
with a total, constant total payment. And then as you start making payments, you get less interest, so you get more principal. But
I want to say that's what it looked like too on the CIP document, because it's on the CIP document.
Well, crazy question. So just like a mortgage that you would have, can you, this is a set, let's say, that's what I was asking, a set payment. Can we pay a yearly extra fee that would knock down that loan?
I'd have to double check. It's with the bond bank, so I believe that they would accept an extra payment.
Yeah.
I think you can also renegotiate it,
You're gonna be
but I can double check those things.
If you renegotiated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can at a better rate, you mean, that type of thing?
Well, oftentimes, public bonds, and this is a public bond, have prohibited prepayment, maybe during the first 5 to 10 years of the bond,
Yeah.
just for that reason, because the investors want to protect their return.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So we do know that some of our, this one I do not know if this was set up obviously before I came in, but I can certainly look into those options and see what we can do. We do have some other loans that early prepayment didn't get held against us. We were able to pay it off, but
Cool.
Yeah, there are prepayment penalties, and if
I know
you're willing
certain
to pay
loans
the
have
penalty, you can
yeah.
pay it off anytime you want.
Yeah.
But the investors are the ones with all of the leverage in these
Right,
things.
yeah,
Well,
that's crazy.
I guess the comment I would make, Sue, is as for my personal finances, I love the idea of making extra payments and paying it down, but I think as a budget committee, we're not looking to increase the payment on this right now.
No,
so-
that was, that's it, no, no. But that was just a curiosity question, because I think down the road, you can always be a better, you never know,
Okay, so anyone want to make any, I'm not hearing any changes. So let's go ahead and vote to approve the bottom line of section 4711, which is debt service principal, in the amount of $389,329.62. All in favor? That all six, so that's unanimous. We're done, and now we will move on to 4721, which should look very similar, number line, because now this is the interest. So 4711 was the principal on all those things, and now 4721 is the interest on all of those things. So, if somebody wants to make a comment, but if we weren't gonna make changes to the principal,
I'll make a motion to move the bottom line of 4721, an amount of $191,380.88.
Can I just stop for a second? I made a motion, I don't remember I got a second, so.
I don't think you made a motion.
Yes, I did. I said, let's move the bottom line of 4721. Oh, maybe I did. Let me try again.
That's why I did it for
So
you.
Oh, thank
Charlie
you.
seconded.
Because you would start talking about, that's what I wanted.
Can we rewind and find out what happened?
No, we don't need a replay. I believe Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. So we have a motion by Charlie, seconded, let's say by Buzz, to move the bottom line of 4721. We ready to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're gonna vote to approve the bottom line of 4721, which is interest on our long-term debt in the amount of I didn't read this number, $191,380.88. All in favor? 6, it's unanimous, it's approved. Do we have to, can we do EDC now, or do you need to postpone it to another meeting?
I didn't invite,
Bill?
Bill Dowie, so that's the only reason I was gonna ask if you could hold off. And we could have him come into your January 9th meeting.
Okay. Does anyone have a problem with that?
No.
Is that for this one? Is that?
It's the 4651.
4651, I think the 3 pages there's one revenue, and then there was.
Yeah, I can explain those when I have my computer froze again.
I think we should definitely make the offer.
So this section here for economic development, we're not gonna do it because we didn't ask the chair of that
Right.
group to come. He's gonna come to the next, he's gonna be invited to come
He
to the
will,
next meeting.
okay.
Yeah, and then I can certainly speak to the
You can write
energy
that
committee
for us.
why that's in there as well at the next meeting, so.
Wait. The energy committee is.
Part of the economic.
Part of the
Part of
economic,
EPC.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think we've handled.
You have one more.
I do?
47.
TAN, right?
23,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where is that? It's not on the agenda.
4721.
Oh, you
should have
know
been.
what? She didn't put it on the agenda.
It's on my agenda.
It's on my agenda it's not in your packets.
Tan is right here, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's not in the packet.
It's not in the packets, so 47, it's.
You're right,
40
I'm not looking at the agenda, I was looking at the directory, you're right, it is on the agenda.
It's not in the packet for some reason. Do
That's
you need
okay.
a
It's
copy?
It's one line.
Can you call it up on the screen?
I can't on this one. She didn't. It's not in the packet. I can.
So-
I can grab it.
So we gotta open up the whole budget, which is doable, but it's just,
It's $1,500.
Oh,
okay, I will make them, except I don't have the,
I'm-
what's the department number?
4723.
Okay, I'll make a motion to consider the bottom line of section 4723, which is interest on TAN tax anticipation notes in the amount of $1,500. Can I get a second? Walter?
So we have not spent that obviously this year. There is the potential that in the spring we may need a TAN. I don't know what that will be.
We've had this conversation in the past years with Bob, and I don't have any problem with this. The goal is not to sell or buy any TAN, whatever it is.
If we can help it,
If we
right?
can help it, but if we get into a cash crunch and we need some money in the budget to pay that interest expense, and so we always approve this line, and I don't know why we wouldn't do that again.
Right. This fall, we had to pay $1 million bill to the county, and taxes weren't in time yet, and we were very close to having to have a TAN because we didn't have enough cash potentially. So the school worked with us, and we held the school bills. so that we could pay the county, because the county you have no leeway with. You have to pay the county December 15th. Doesn't matter if your taxes are coming in or not, so. So that's what, so that's the only reason we didn't take justice at all, so.
Okay, any questions, Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on approving section 4723, which is interest on a TAN in the bottom line amount of $1,500. All in favor? Okay, that's 6, that's unanimous. Okay, now I'm back on the actual agenda document, and other than economic development, I do believe we have handled
You have.
all of these. So, the next item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was December 12th. Let me start with my expert proofreader. Any
I
changes?
got a bunch this week.
Go ahead, please do.
Christine, are you ready?
Yep.
On the first page, the budget committee overall goals. In the first line, it says there are lines that it should be any member rather than you.
Yep.
And then at the end of the line, after where it says amend or, you should strike everything else and just use the word clarify. That's just grammar.
Sorry, I just found out I
In
can
the
change
first-
them right now.
Yeah, in the first line of the budget committee overall goals.
Yep.
You say, you substitute any member for you, and then it goes on, would like to amend or, and after the or, you should put the word clarify and
Yeah.
then delete
Got it.
clarification of the
Thank
line.
you. Got it.
In the section, review and approve budget sections in 42010 on the first page, in the second line, add the word board with a capital B after the word select.
Oh yeah, in working with the select, yeah, should be select board.
Got
Okay.
it.
And then in the carryover of that paragraph on the next page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down, the line begins and uniform lines for employee retention. And instead of a comma after the word retention, it should be a period.
So mine, wait a minute. And, let's see. I got it. And uniform lines for employee retention, period. Got it.
Correct. Okay, yep.
And I think I had another one. Oh, yeah, on, member select board comments on the third page.
Yep.
In the third paragraph, Mr. Reagan added a comment. Insert the word a.
And while we're on that paragraph, is there anything that you, based on Janet's feedback earlier, that you would want to adjust? Do you think that's explaining your comment sufficiently?
That's a good point. I think this. What do you think? Maybe add a sentence then? So I think what's written there might be okay, but then a line saying we will continue to focus on the budget and minimizing spending increase. I think that's what Janet said, and I don't disagree with that.
Right.
I think your phrase does,
Cover what you said that night.
particularly the last line, and the budget is only one piece of this calculation. But I think it,
Right, but
I think it captures it here better than her interpretation
So
from. That's what I'm trying to say.
I understand
Of what you had said.
your concern about Janet's concern, but that would be reflected in tonight's minutes. You want to make sure that this reflects what you said that
I
night.
gotcha.
Yeah. So I didn't know if it correctly reflects. Okay.
I think it correctly reflects what I said last week, so your
Okay.
point is correct, and we can put something in this week's minutes about the conversation with Janet.
Interpretation.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Okay, did anyone else have any
No, but Charlie did, I wanna bring that up, because Charlie did have a good point, which is what I was kind of going for too, is that, one of my biggest things when I try to do is, I know we're on camera, I know we're on, I want the public to understand what we're talking about here, and a lot of these things that you can't really explain when we get to the town meeting, you can, but it could get heated at that point, so you want them to hopefully have as much information prior than before. So Charlie did mention about possibly heading off a few things, I'm not sure how you phrased it.
Oh, I think that we should talk about that in member comments though.
You wanna do that? Oh, okay.
Not here. I think where you're going with this, giving suggestions about our essentially write-up for the town report and so on.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just think we should approve these minutes before we talk
Okay,
about
we'll do
that.
that, okay.
So we're still talking about the minutes from last week's meeting. There were a number of grammatical corrections, and we were talking about Janet's comments, but those are not from last week, those are from this week. So I think we're getting ready to vote to approve the minutes unless anyone else has anything else. Not hearing anything else, I will move the question. We're gonna vote, we're voting to approve or not approve the minutes of the meeting last week. All in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining, that's what I was gonna check.
Yes.
So we have 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstaining. I'd just like to say it out loud for, I think it helps Shannon. I could be wrong, but I think it helps Shannon if I
It does.
repeat everything. And so, correspondence. I was gonna bring it up, so I'll bring it up in comments. Any correspondence from any committee member? Okay, select board and member comments. I know it says select board first. Do you mind if I go first, Les?
Go right ahead.
I just want to, so it might have been even in kind of a correspondence. I just want to let you know that I got an email from Wendy Smith, who is the town employee who puts together the book for the town meeting. The deadline for the report from the budget committee to go into that is Friday, January 12th. And to do it off the top of my head to figure out which day of the week it was. But I know it was January 12th. So I wanted to let you know that
It says Monday, January 12th here.
yeah, but January 12th is a Friday.
Oh, okay, so it's a typo in the email, got it.
Because our meeting
Yep,
is...
yep, you're right. I agree with you.
So if it's not clear, so I will tell you, so last year the deadline was kind of like that, and I made an effort to make it. And I think to Charlie's point, if you send it in on Sunday, it doesn't really matter, as long as she has it first thing Monday morning, but hey. So last year I got the note, and I didn't make a big deal about it, and I wrote a report and sent it off and put it in. And I'm concerned that this year it's more important to get it right, because it's going to be a bigger discussion. So I had, when the select board approved their version of the budget and that select board meeting ended, I went up and talked to Sean outside of a meeting, and I said, hey, I think that it's important that the select board and the budget committee kind of be on the same page here. You know, let's talk later in the year and make sure that what's going on. So, but I got thinking about it some more, and I thought, I don't really want to schedule another meeting and turn this into a group project, but I want to give you guys a chance to get some input on this. So, but if I move the deadline for myself up to say Monday, the 8th of January, and then it could all get sent out to you, and we could talk about it on the 9th, I think that's the best thing to do. It just gives me work that I don't want to do. But I think it's the right thing to do, so I'll go ahead and commit to that. So what I want to do is put together, I'll put it this way, I'll put together a draft report for the town report and share it with all of you so that we can discuss it at our next meeting, which is Tuesday, January 9th. I don't want to turn this, I think it's harder to write a document like that with 7 people. So I don't really want to turn this into a group, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to help. and to get your point of view in there. So let's do it that way unless someone has I'm open to better ideas.
I just have a suggestion as far
Please,
as
go ahead.
planning goes, that I think the select board did a better job than ever laying out their goals and priorities.
Yeah.
I think it's important for us to reiterate what their goals and priorities were, and then our take on them. Because that kind of started the process for us.
Right.
And that leads into what we ended up doing. I think that tells the story
Yep,
that you want to tell.
that's a good point. And that was something that actually Sean, I have it in my stack of papers at home.
Good.
He gave it to us in
Yeah.
writing when he came to present, so it wasn't just verbally. We have it, we have that information. Yeah,
So it's clear that this is what the select board wanted, this is what we have done.
yep.
So the information is all out there.
But I think we're saying the same thing that you were saying, is that this is potentially gonna be a really exciting town meeting, not in a good way exciting town meeting, and so the better job we do explaining things, hopefully the better job we have minimizing the really pissed off people at that meeting.
Exactly. You have to have all your ducks in a row is what it is. You need to know what you're talking about, what you're saying, and telling the town. I mean, we're all on the same page, I think we are, as far as what's the need and, what we need to do. But the town needs to be, understand
Yep,
where we're coming
I
from.
think you're right.
Mhm.
If, any comments, any additional, do you wanna say anything? 'Cause-
I said right through it all I could and all I did. There were some things that I strongly disagreed with, and I voiced them. And, I mean, there's two major parts of the budget I voted against. So when the bottom line, I'm voting against that, based upon the fact that I was dissatisfied. And,
You wrote, just to clarify, I think I
Police and
remember you
fire.
wrote both with police fire. So the other thing I would say to you, Walter, I've said this before, just wanna say it again. If you have any specific lines that you would like to go back and reconsider and propose a change to, let me know. I will put them on the agenda and we will do that at a future meeting. And I just wanna make sure you know you still have that
I
ability.
realize that, and I'm not capable of going in and doing that. I just felt as though we were more than generous with the town of Bristol when we bought this building. And then the next day, they wanted the Department of Public Safety building, which I supported but wouldn't support until the library was over. And I voted for that, and I haven't changed my feeling on that. But I do feel as though it's like a kid with candy. We gave him too much all at once, and now we're paying for it. And I told both the chief and the captain of the fire department a long time ago I was gonna vote against their budget regardless of how it was. Because of that. We already gave them, we were generous enough.
Okay. All right, I think that's it for my comments. I'm gonna go now to the select board member. Is anything going on with the select board that we need to know about, or anything just that you personally wanna bring up for us?
Not at this point.
Okay. Buzz, anything? We just talked. Anything else?
I've said everything,
All right.
I'm quick to say what I think. And
Sue, anything you
No,
want to bring up?
nothing else. Yeah, I know we had mentioned that.
Charlie? Nope. Staff comments? Christina?
In front of you is a revenue detail by account.
Yep, thank
It
you.
is not a pretty document. I'm still working on the setup on it, but I wanted to make, you had asked for that last week. Not all of the proposed budget numbers are in there, and I still have to work on the layout for it. But I just wanted to make sure that you knew that it was there, so.
This is for this year though.
This shows you just the revenue so far. I don't have the new projected or what we're proposing for revenues for next year completely updated, so I couldn't print you that. It needs to be set up correctly in the system still. So
Okay.
this tells you where we're at this year as far as
No, This is mine, but
Do I
this is,
have one?
you should,
Yeah, it should have been
Okay.
it's,
it should be, is it in that stack of stuff?
That's possible.
But, so what you're telling me, so what I heard you say, for me personally, is that this is all current year-to-date stuff, and there's no column there for estimated 2024.
not currently.
We'll do that, but it's scheduled on February 6th, after the public
Well,
hearing.
right, at some point,
We'll vote on
we have to
revenues.
vote
I'll
on it,
get,
so we
well,
will
I
have it
would,
at some point.
I will have a more updated document for you before your public hearings, obviously. But I wanted to make sure I gave you the revenue numbers so far for this year, cause you hadn't even seen those, so.
Right.
And this is to show you what it looks like currently. This is not what you're used to seeing, the way
Right.
this set up. It's not breaking out by departments. Makes it very hard to follow. It's broken out by Department of Revenue. And so we're trying to get the company to work with us and fix it, so.
Yeah, also on January 30th, we have our work session on warrant articles and revenues.
Yeah.
So the reason I asked, just to let everyone know, the reason I asked for it is because one of the things that I was thinking about is part of our explanation. You want to?
I just wanna see what it looks like.
Part of our explanation to the citizens that yes, things have gone up, but at least some of the things have gone up. Like the best example is the fire department
Yes.
billing expense. That goes up because it's a percentage of revenues, and the revenues went up. I mean, the same, like the line, I hadn't thought about it that way, but it made sense to me when the police chief said, yeah, when you guys took the radar equipment out and said you wanted a separate article, I was fine with that, because it took $35,000 out of my budget and it made my budget look bad. I kind of want to be able, the thing I'm struggling with, and I wanted to get the numbers so I could think about it some more, is I don't really want to get into the nitty-gritty details trying to stand up at a podium at a town meeting. I'll end up talking for 2 hours if I do that. That doesn't make anybody happy. But the reason that I supported you voted against it.
I voted for it.
But the reason I supported it is because I'm like, okay, we're gonna get $36,000 worth of equipment for $8,000
Okay, I misunderstood, I apologize.
Right, but the reason I voted for it is it doesn't show up really unless you already know it, and we know it because we're on the committee, but we're getting $36,000 worth of equipment for $8,000 out of our pocket. Seems like a good deal to me.
It is a good.
But the budget just says we're spending $36,000, so how much detail do we want to get into to explain that to people, is what I'm starting to kind of think about, and then when I got the note from Wendy, I'm like, I gotta think faster.
And the equipment that's being purchased is a revenue source in and of itself.
No,
Don't the tickets go to the town?
I don't think they write
I
a
think
lot of
they go
tickets.
to the, do they go? Do you know, I think they do. I
Take
think
a
they
look,
go-
is there a line in here on police for a ticket? But I
I
don't
think
they
they
write a lot of
actually go
tickets.
to the fund. But
Don't
there
say
is
that.
PD parking
There's no reason
tickets.
to buy the equipment.
Police, police fine, is that it? 3401, 220? Parking tickets?
Parking tickets would be associated, like beach and other
Right,
areas.
right, but the line above it, 220, is police fines. Is that moving violations?
Yeah, but there's nothing, so there was nothing estimated for revenue for this year.
Okay. And we only collected $116 so far.
Right.
So it's not a big,
I'll ask Chris because.
okay.
Why am I thinking tickets don't come? I'll ask Chris, so I'll have that answer for you as well.
But in the town report, there is a section that lists essentially how many tickets were given out.
Right.
And it's not zero.
No.
That number's not zero on that.
But if we wanted to build a blind and set up a policeman on 104 coming in, we could write a lot of tickets if we wanted to.
You don't even need a policeman if you've ever been in the south. They have traffic cameras.
you do
Just
have-
sit by the side, like the speed limit sign only has a camera on.
But I think,
I do know the beach crew
Yeah.
is able to write tickets.
I know that
certain members-
some of the adult people have been deputized, but
Yep.
I thought that I had heard at one point at a this was at least a couple of years ago, but at one point, I was at a select board meeting and I heard one of the select board basically said, well, we're a resort town, we don't wanna piss people off. If we start giving a lot of tickets on 104, they're gonna stop coming here, so that's not what we're looking for you to do. So, I
And
mean,
it won't stop.
yeah, you're right.
It might slow them down though.
No.
But frankly, where we care about people speeding is our downtown area.
Yeah.
That's what really matters for public safety. Them going 10 miles over past the boat landing is not that big of a deal.
I hear you.
I
Okay.
hate that sign. The minute you go by, when I go by
Oh,
Pink Hill Road, I drop the throttle and I coast.
Yeah.
And all the way along, it's telling me I'm speeding and I'm in a 50-mile-an-hour zone, and I was doing less than 50 when I dropped the throttle.
Well, that's what I don't worry that it blinks at me, as long as it gets down by the time I get to the sign, I figure I'm doing
Mine
all
too, we
right.
do the same thing, it's like, oh.
Charlie, any comments from you before okay, so we've handled all of the comments. The last item is adjournment. Anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Seconded by Walter. All in favor?
9:05 PM.
At 9:05 PM. Thank you, everybody.